classroom. So I challenge coaches with your students, whether it's on a collegiate level, even professional level, grade school, sometimes you have to block out time just to see what's truly going on. You don't talk about athletics. You don't talk about academics. You talk about like what's truly going on. You have team building. When you have team building, you focus on things that's going to make them stronger internally, not in the books or in sports, internally, because these kids deal with a lot, way more than we dealt with. And a lot of times their mental capacity, we were a lot stronger. We didn't grow up in this age of social media. I can speak mostly for the panel. We didn't grow up in this social media age or having to prove something. These kids wake up every day with a monster on their backs, demons trying to get onto them. Like, let's be real. So you have to challenge yourself to make sure that you're incorporating yourselves into their lives. Just not, okay, I want you to come out on this field and perform for me, or you need to make these grades so you can go to college. No, you need to see what's deeper inside and what's truly going on with your kids. Because I promise you, I think I've built so many relationships post coaching than I ever did while I was coaching, because I dig deeper with kids. A lot of times I don't even talk about sports. I don't talk about softball. I don't talk about academics. What's going on with you? So when it comes to that mental stuff, like I said, it's a slippery slope, and y'all know that it's a slippery slope. You have to be mindful. Sometimes I do believe in just letting a kid just relax, giving the kid the off day, because guess what? I gave you that mental health day. I gave you some off time to get it together. Now it's time for you to show up, because sometimes that mental health stuff can be just, it's one of those, and I don't want to say an excuse,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of kids take advantage of that too. So if I give you a mental health day, you best believe the next day that you come in practice, you need to come ready, because if you don't, there are going to be consequences. There's going to be consequences. I'm giving you what you need. Now you need to come back on the field.
And
I'm sorry,
yes.
just want to let everybody know, we had a little technical difficulties. If you want to let your folks know, your text, or the stream is up there. There's
Okay.
no problem with the stream went out. We have issues with them. So it's going out, it's on Minority Prospects TV on YouTube.
No, that's fine.
It's up in live.
I want to ask you a follow-up question to that. How can, as a coach, right? I come to you and I want to know how can I decipher the excuse versus the actual, hey, maybe they do need help. How can I kind of look at that as a coach? This kid is coming to me, hey coach, I need a mental health day. You give them that, they come back 2 days later, they need another. But I also have a standard for my team. Hey, if you didn't practice twice this week, you can't play this weekend.
Well, to me, it's the foundational piece.
Mhm.
So you set the standard, which we've been talking a lot about sports setting the standards and all that. When it comes to mental health and stuff, that's why you peel back the layers, because those kids that make excuses, you're going to see that. You're going to see that way before you get into the season.
For sure.
You're oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, you're going to see that way before you get into the season. That's why I think off season is what builds true athletes and strong-minded athletes. Because guess what? The weaker minded kids, and I hate to say that, they're going to weed themselves out come spring when that sport starts. So to me, it's if you get to know them on a deeper level, you'll be able to decipher, okay, this kid is playing. And even those kids, and you can set it like foundational. If a kid, hey, if you miss 2 days of practice, mental health or not, I'll give you that first day. That second day, you might miss a game or you might sit out, because guess what? The kids are trying to take your spot every day.
Mhm.
And I always tell kids, you're competing. You love your teammates, but you're competing for a spot on the team, on a field. No love lost.
Mhm.
But if you miss 2 days, Monica can come and take your spot.
Right.
And if she comes and show out, don't take it personal. You did need to get yourself together. But also, Monica, you gave her an opportunity that, and she presented that, hey, I'm ready to play. But it's nothing wrong with that. And I tell kids all the time, even if you have to sit out, mental health and stuff, and somebody comes in, you have to be mentally ready to fight for your position back. That's just the way the game goes.
Yeah, I want to talk about as a coach, especially travel coach or rec, you got to be a good communicator with your parents. I know you said parent. I had one coach say I don't talk to parents. My team mom talk to parents. I said, no, you can't be that way. You gotta be approachable. You can't be a coach that don't talk to parents. I know some parents might get on your nerve, but bottom line is, if you're consistent, you got a process, and you're consistent with your process, parents not gonna give you a hard time. And you gotta be consistent. You can't give one girl a leeway and then you do something different with somebody else. Another thing is you gotta have a relationship with the players. Every one of my players to come out the dugout, I ask them how's school. Something personal, has nothing to do with softball. You got to have a different relationship with every player. Now on the field, there's some girls that you could chew out, and some you don't have to say a word to because they're going to be hard on themselves than you can ever be. You got to know the difference. If you don't have that relationship with them, you might be riding a kid too hard who doesn't deserve to be ridden hard. Right. So you got to know all of your players. You got, so you really got to, you really got to have a relationship with your players. So.
Sorry. At the collegiate level too, we're so thankful that parents trust us enough to send their kids, right? They live there at school. They're with us every day. And so we become that second family for them, right? When they're away and when they're with us. So developing those relationships, and actually knowing them for who they are is super important. And I think that, we're super lucky to have a smaller team. We only have 20 girls. So it's really easy to get to know every single one of them because we are quite literally with them pretty much every day. But knowing them outside of the field as well and kind of being able to see those issues before they verbalize them, right? So we had someone who showed up with super low energy. That's usually like the light, right, amongst everybody else. We know that something's off, right? But she wanted to be there. She's like, no, please don't send me home, right? I can be here and just not participate today, but softball is my escape from whatever else is going on, right? Those mental challenges that she's facing. And we're lucky that that's the case for a lot of our athletes, is that softball takes them away from real life, right? It's something that they enjoy doing, and it's not the cause of that anxiety or the cause of that stress, right? It's something that they can have an outlet and a release. So just also being able to identify those things kind of before they spiral, and knowing that you do have to have some give and take with those things and kind of say, okay, well, do what you can today. Or thanks for letting me know. I know that probably was hard for you to open up, but we're here to support you in that way as well, because it can be very long, right? We're with them for 5 months in our competition season, and it's pretty much nonstop every day. And things are going to come up, right? Somebody might pass, or somebody might get sick, or you broke up with your boyfriend. Those are real life things that might seem small to us that have lived there, been there, done that. But I think we all remember in the moment how it felt, right? So just making sure that you still have that, approachability factor, not only when it comes to them, but with parents too, right? I've had parents tell me things that I didn't even know about their kid, right? But they're, comfortable enough to tell them, but we still need to be aware because we're ultimately responsible for that kid as well. So just finding that line as well, right? Not being, where they tell you everything, because some things I'm like, I don't want to know. Please leave that, please leave that in the locker room before you come out here. But just being able to have that balance, I think, is super important for them as well.
Okay. So I love talking about confidence. I love talking about trust and all that. I mean, as you can clearly see, I love being in front of people. I love talking. I love doing all of that, right? I love performing. So, and I've been like that my entire life. Okay. And what I want you coaches to really understand and get your athletes to understand is, especially if they're doing work every single day, they're already confident. They're already confident in what they're doing. They already know how to swing a bat. They already know how to field a ball. They already know how to catch a ball, right? So they're not there for you to teach them those things, right? Because they learned that maybe long ago. And you'll get those, from here time to time, you'll get those ones that, oh, it's my first year playing, right? I don't know anything. But across the board, getting them to understand that you're already confident in this. The one thing that you may be missing is trust. Trusting yourself to get it done when it's supposed to get done. Right? And showing up when you need to show up. But how do you get that trust piece? Because confidence is just you doing, right? It's knowing that you can, knowing how to do it, right? So how do you get the trust piece? When you're doing at-home practice or whatever it is, right? It's a conversation that you have. The conversation that you have with yourself after a bad rep. Conversation you have with yourself after a good rep, right? So you don't want to have a bad physical rep and then follow it up with a bad mental rep, right? We want to make sure that we're balancing things out, and so that we really understand at the core of this, it is fun. right? And we're out here, and this is just something that I choose to do. No one's forcing you to be out here to do this, right? And so because it's no one forcing you, and well, I mean, some parents do put their, so I mean, so it might be forced a little bit, but at the core of it, it's still fun. It's something that you choose to do, and so don't allow yourself to struggle or to feel that so mentally, harbored that you're like, I can't even do anything, right? At the core of this, it's fun. It's something that you choose to do. So number one, you're confident already in that. Number two, trust yourself enough to get it done when you're supposed to get it done. And how you build that is at home. So, and I have written a book. I'm an author as well. It's called In Confidence I Trust. So I just want to put that out there if you want to buy it.
And I'll piggyback off of that, but I'll touch the mental health part first, considering that is a touchy subject for me, considering I'm a crisis counselor by trade. And I say that with the younger kids that I work with, my specialty, of course, coming back from collegiate play and coaching and realizing where the gap is with the 12 and under group. A lot of times to reduce that mental anxiety or the mental capacity that's being interrupted is letting them know the structure of the practice, reducing that anxiety, giving them the heads up of your expectations for that day. Where that ties in with the confidence is you bring confidence to the field. So I know if you've been doing your reps at home because you're confidently ready to execute the plays. So when you're talking about 12 and under middle school rec ball players, the key to that is to help reduce that anxiety. And as they said, be personable with them. So a structure that I always use with any athlete when they come in, I greet them, how's your day? Right? I read body language because I understand how much that speaks volumes. And then depending on how they respond to me, I may adjust the beginning of the practice because I don't want low morale when I start. I want everybody up, high tempo, energetic. And if everyone is not there, we get the majority there. And the way we do that is just go ahead and prepare them what to expect, what we're covering today. And there is always a challenge session in there as they spoke about. And that's when you'll see the confidence that they exude from when they're working at home, when they're going to the trainers and things of that nature. And then I also want to add this into there as well. Parents, when coaches tell you all that, hey, I allow her to communicate with me this way on the field, you stay out of it. Stay out of it. And I'm saying that because the coach is building rapport with that athlete has to be able to communicate effectively with that coach. And if you have your limitations at home and you want to bring it to our field, then you're interrupting our flow. That kid can't be who they are and specifically tell you what is really going on. But the ones that are calling the coaches, telling them about the boys, understand that they've already opened up and coaches have opened that doorway for them to be open and communicate whether you want it or not, right? Because Coach Alexandra just said some of the stuff we don't want to hear, but that's some of the things that I attacked early on. So I'm a big proponent at rec level. Middle school, it doesn't matter. Parents, there's a fence between the field for a purpose. Stay behind it.
I'm going to add this one thing. It's because I believe that we have to remind students, and oftentimes our athletes, oftentimes our highest functioning athletes, this is not who you are, this is what you do. And oftentimes your greatest athletes can't depict between the two because their self-efficacy is related to that rep or that ball game. And they will hold on to that. And you have to remind them that it's not who they are and that self-efficacy is separate. Now, that does not mean that you don't have to do the reps and you don't have to take pride, because I think our positions and jobs is not necessarily who we are, it's what we do for a living. But we also have to be the best we can. However, when we go home, that your mother's love does not depict upon that, because I've had numerous athletes within 1 year who thought that their mother's love come based off of their ability to perform. So I think it's like you have to remind them, and I think we take for granted that students and athletes know certain things, and they don't. They really don't. And so you do have to be repetitive, and you do have to remind them like, hey, I am there. Hey, this is good. This is not who you are, things like that. So I think that's something we kind of take for granted as coaches, is that they should know that. So.
And then one last thing that I didn't say when I was speaking. So being that I work on more of the development part, one thing that I do teach my kids, and you should teach your kids as well, is to be an advocate for themselves. I think that a lot of times, like I felt when I was in school, I was quiet. I didn't know how to advocate for myself when it came to like I'm struggling or like I'm having issues and stuff like that. So that's why I have an open door policy with my kids. Like, let's talk. What's going on? What I mean being an advocate, saying how you feel, how coach, this affected me and I didn't know how to tell you. Well, tell me. Let's talk about it. I think if you create that morale within your team or on your team, it's easy to communicate and have those good relationships. And I always tell, like, if you need a mental health day, I always tell my kids, say it with your chest. Say it with your chest. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. My boyfriend just cheated on me. Say I need help. And I always tell my kids, it's okay to ask for help. When I was a sophomore in college, and this is why I think I'm an advocate, because I didn't have anybody to talk to. My big sister was going through her own struggles at college herself. And my friends doing whatever, like she was one of my friends, she just, starting out and stuff. And it was just like one of those things that I got my heart broken our ACC championship game. Found out my boyfriend had cheated on me 3 days before that game. And guess what I did? I did not have an outlet. I did not have anybody to talk to at all. And I didn't start that game. You know why? Because my coaches, and nothing against my coaches, because time has evolved and changed, but I didn't have the open door, or I felt comfortable enough to say, I'm heartbroken. I cried in my dorm room by myself. My sister don't even know. I cried for days up until we got on the bus to go, because we, week in advance, you go to prepare for ACC, whatever, or your conference. I cried in the bathroom. Teammate didn't even know, but I didn't have anybody to talk to tell them to relieve that stress. And guess what? It showed in practice before ACC championship game. And guess what? I didn't start. I ended up coming in to relieve second inning, I think, but I didn't start. All because I wasn't an advocate for myself to say, hey, coach, I am heartbroken. Today, just only today, can I just stay or whatever I needed to do. So that's why I say you have to allow them to advocate for themselves, because I tell my kids, I'd rather for you to advocate to me and talk to me than go and tell your teammate or your mom or your cousin or your friends and talk junk behind our backs, because I don't know what I don't know. So if you can't tell me, I can't advocate for you if I have to go above, or I can't help you. So that was my piece. I'm sorry.
Man, yeah. I want number one, Alex. So what Alex and her team and some other people that I know in the collegiate world, they do a good job of like reaching out to travel coaches about their players. So I have in the past, I've had several of her girls or girls that have played for me prior to either transferring or are currently going to her school next year. And so they do a really good job of just like building a relationship with the coaches in the travel world to, hey, what are you doing with, we're going to use Katie, for example, Katie Brown, like what are her successes? What are the things that she's working on? How are you challenging her? But then my question is, what is it that you want to see, right? Because like they're coming out and they're observing their athlete, good, bad, ugly, right? So what is it that you're looking for? How, from my perspective, I can, be a bridge between that relationship while I'm coaching them on the field. That's important as well too. And then like I wanted to give like some practical things that we've done at the collegiate level, high school level, and travel level of how you can build those like, I hate using the word intimate because it's weird, but like intimate moments with kids outside of like just softball. And what we would do is within their 20-hour practice week or their 8-hour practice week at the collegiate level, 30 minutes of that, like you're meeting with one of us. And it was awkward at first. Like sometimes we would eat lunch and like just look at each other, and then, what's your favorite cartoon? I watched Rugrats growing up. Like, just like building that rapport. Or I'm showing them pictures of my son Hosea, or like, I know you got a dog. What's the dog's name? What, like things like that. Like, hey, what are you missing at home? Because a lot of kids are homesick, or just things like that, right? And then when I coached high school and I was on campus, I would do it during lunch or during breakfast time, and maybe not 30 minutes because as a teacher, no. But maybe 10 or 15 minutes, like I bring us some donuts and we're just breaking bread together, and, just kind of like they get to see you outside of that coaching mindset. And now what I try to do with the athletes currently is one of my things that I was able to figure out for me is I know my worth and my identity and my purpose, like she said. And now my purpose is to help our girls do the same thing. And so them finding their identity and their purpose outside of what they're doing on the field. But then I apply that through scripture. And so this is probably our best season we had as an 18 national team. And it started with the word of God, period. Because what God is trying to do within our girls and just athletes in general, like we have to give them words and quotes and scripture to protect that. Because like she said, like there are real life demons and enemies like trying to stunt the growth, take out their light, and all the things. And if you were to watch, like, man, like my team, they be balling. I'm never gonna lie, and I'm not even gonna even hold y'all with that. And to see a majority Black team go out and take some of the top names in the country, do the damn thing, period. Like, you don't get to see that, and they're having fun doing it. They ain't talking stuff. We ain't playing, nasty or whatever, because like that's what the persona is, right? They want it to be that way. I know the rules, so I'm talking. Oh, what? Oh, you don't know, Blue? Go get the head guy, because we stop the clock. We got time for this today, right? Teaching them how to advocate without having the emotion, because there's a stereotype around just Black athletes, right? The emotional side, the irrational side, all of these things, right? And so giving them a different perspective, being able to put words with their feelings, like all of those things are being taught. And I love that it's being taught earlier, because when they come to me 18U and I'm sending them off to school, I have, less than a year, maybe 2 years if I'm lucky, right, to build that type of strategy, resource, or whatever you want to call it within them. Like, that's why I stepped away from collegiate coaching, because I looked back down at our Black girls and our kids, and I was just like, who the hell is teaching them how to prepare for college? Because low key, right, like, people want the money. They don't see the athlete. They see parents and their dollar signs, period, right? And so I'm just one person within this, right, that's trying to change the trajectory of how the game is going. But I think it's important for us to teach them what their worth is, especially when they go to college, because everybody is good in college, period. And you're going to be fighting for a spot in a very, hopefully, healthy way. But just reminding them of who they are, whose they are, and giving them those tools and those strategies and the word to protect that from a spiritual side of things.
Yeah, I mean, super thankful for Sai. I think she does a great job. We currently have 3 athletes that played for her on our team, and they're very self-aware, which is like a huge part of it, right? It's like, we don't necessarily need to always bring that awareness like to you. It's nice when you have it, on your own, and then also being able to advocate, right? And we were, we have a great relationship, super open communication, and we were struggling with one athlete in particular that she had just coached. And us being able to, have that dialogue of how can we help her now that she's with us, right? And her being like, this is exactly how to deal with her, and it worked, right? And that was huge for us, because it was little things that can really spiral, right? Once things get going, starting from like lack of communication in the summer, right? We don't really know you yet, so we're like, she doesn't care, right? But that's not the case at all. She was never held to that standard of communication that you are once you get to us, right? Or then knowing that, no, you need to talk to her a little more stern, right? So it'll get through her head. It's not being mean to her, but that's how she responds, right? So little things like that do go a long way. And then us being able to now know that about her as a person and translate that into her as a player, because those are 2 very separate things as well. And I think, we did something very similar this year. We had this is my first year as an assistant coach. We have a new assistant coach as well. And then this is our head coach's second year. So fairly new staff. And then we had 9 new players and 11 returners. So fairly new team as well. So being able to then go outside of the field, right? I think the more you can get to know them away from the field, the more real it is, right? The more real the connection is, but they're also not associating it with them as a player. It's with them as a person. So we met with the girls one-on-one. We actually started off with prompted questions. So sometimes it can be awkward, not only for the coach, but also for the players to kind of start that dialogue. So it was like, oh, what's your favorite childhood memory, right? And they would have to ask us questions too. So, we are people too, which we try to explain to them a lot as well, is like, you guys should get to know us as well, because it helps, right, that relationship grow. So prompting those questions and just sitting down with them anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, going to get coffee, going to get ice cream, just meeting in the office, or if they have a, a place around town that they want to try out. I'm a big coffee shop advocate, so that was a lot of my meetings. But then just getting to know them and those things, and then being able to push them now that I know what their motivations are and kind of that foundation of who they are. And I think that helps kind of when you do get on them, right? In that way, they're knowing that it's coming from a place of wanting to make them great and not wanting to tear them down, which is, I think, a lot of what that anxiety is triggered by is like, well, my coach doesn't like me. That's why my coach is always on me. It's like, no, I really like you. That's why I'm always on you. If I didn't like you, then you probably wouldn't hear from me as much, right? So just making sure that you lay that foundation first. And I think that if we can start that at the travel ball level, it's just that much easier when we do get those kids for them to fall into our systems. And that takes away a lot of that stress and anxiety as well. That comes along with becoming a freshman in college. So.
And so, coaches, I guess the question you would ask yourself is, are you that outlet for your players? And you don't have to be that outlet, but I think the thing they're saying is if you're not that outlet, help them find an outlet. Because everybody's not the one to talk to. Everybody has their own stuff going on. Maybe you don't want to take on somebody. Understandable. But help them find it because they're 12, 13, 17, even 21, 20. They're young. That's still young. In everybody's book in here, that's still pretty young. So just help them find a way to, get out of what they're in. Yes, please.
I definitely want to piggyback off that for those that are not collegiate as of yet. If you have a team mom, if you have an assistant coach, someone who's good at being personal with the athletes, that's who you use. And I'll say this because my right hand is in here. I was that coach. Coach May said, I don't need to talk to parents. I was like that because the minute a parent wanted to tell me, it's like, well, why are you here? Type. So I definitely get it, but it's one of those things. We can have a conversation. So I say that to say I had to learn in that moment. Hey, talk to Phyllis Franklin. She'll smooth it out. What I need to do, I'll do it. But I'll talk to the athlete because we need the athlete to learn to advocate for themselves or build a rapport with me, not you as a parent trying to always take over.
Sure.
I think too, just to piggyback obviously off of everybody, knowing your worth and the value that you bring is really important, right? Because I think it kind of it kind of cleans up a lot of the other stuff, right? Like feeling like coach is getting on me and I'm not, or I'm not going to play because I'm going to stay kind of thing. Like they have to know that the reason why they're there is because they're valuable, right? Like we need you. We need you, right. Your specific spot, wherever that is in the lineup, even if it's in the dugout. You have to know your value, know what you bring to the table. Because when you know what you bring to the table, you do that. You do that, and then you get better at that. And not only that, you can take on other skill sets, right? But at the very core of it, you have to understand the value that you bring, what you bring to the table, and say, like, this is me, this is who I am. And so I think, too, I think with the whole the identity thing, I think it's very subjective at times, and the lines kind of cross between being an athlete and a person, right? Just like you as a person and then you as an athlete. To me, they kind of go hand in hand because right now I still feel like I'm an athlete. I feel like I can go out there and play right now, right? And I'm 4 months postpartum, okay? So, but at the same time, when I talk about the line kind of being blurred, only because it goes back to your value, what you know, who you are, right? With their identity, right? Understanding that, because if I value leadership, that's what I'm going to bring everywhere I go. I'm not going to be a leader here and then not be a leader over here, right? I'll still bring, even if I don't know in the other space or environment, I don't really know much, I'm still going to bring the qualities that I know to bring, right? And then exude that, and then of course learn more, right? Because obviously it's very important to always be in a mindset of improvement, right? We want to improve, just consistently improve. And I think that takes away that, the pressure of having to be perfect, right? All the time. Because you already know, when it talks about let's talk about hitting, right? We're talking about hitting, you're not going to get on every single time. You're not. Right. Even though, batting average for me was a thing, back then I had to get to be All-American. I knew I wasn't going to get on every single time, right? Like I had to be okay with that. I had to be okay with the things that weren't going to go my way, right? But I still had to figure out, I still had to, at the core of it, know, okay, I know how to bounce back from this. Because the value and the worth that, me feeling who I am, I know how to do this, right? I don't need necessarily anyone to rub my back or say anything like that. It's just like, when you know what you bring to the table, you bring that, you get more so that you can be the best, the absolute best that you can be. So I think that just getting them to understand that you are worthy of this. You do bring value. And when they understand that and can identify this is what, okay, boom, that's what you do. Because everyone on the team has role and responsibilities, right? So they all kind of go hand in hand. But understanding who you are at the core of it, that's who you are, whether it's an athlete or a person.
And I wanna kind of flip to the coaches side of it, and like kind of preventing quote unquote coach burnout, right? Because we put a lot into this game, right? Because we talk about the student athlete and how they're going through a lot. We're living adult lives. So it's a lot going on with that. So how do we prevent, quote unquote coach burnout?
Low key and high key, I'd be taking sabbaticals, like for real, for real. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. And like, but from the church standpoint, right? Like if you think about a pastor and all the work that goes into it, right? They normally take that month of June and July off, right? Because they have to pour back into themselves, get regrounded and reconnect. And I do it before every summer, and I do it before every fall, and I do it in December from the travel perspective. Like I will shut my phone off. I will be missing for a few days. Like literally, my son will be in great hands. They know the numbers to the hospital, the insurance, all the things. Like period. And I have to take my time that time again because every season, like God gives me a different thing for the kids that are coming in, and I can't move on mission and move on purpose if I'm not connecting with him. Right. And if I allow people and things and resources to stretch me, right, even if I am good at what I do, right, even if I have a lot of skill sets and trades, like I have to be tapped into, for me, right, with God to know when to say yes to things and when to say no to things. Because if you don't know your worth and know your value and also be connected to the vine, period, right? You're going to be moving and then you're going to get disconnected and you're going to be a dried up little branch on the sidewalk, period, with no purpose, no nothing, no whatever, just out here. And so, like, when I get that way, to speak in, figurative language, I become brittle and I'm easily broken. I'm easily cracked. And my kids see it. Like you can see the physical aspect. And then when you break the branch open, you can see how dry it is. You can see that it's lacking nutrients and things like that. So for me, like I have to, and that's, yeah, I'm going to say it. That is one of the reasons why I did leave the collegiate world, because there was a disconnect with the reality of time that I was putting in, right? There's a disconnect, right, of the reality of time that was told I needed to put in, right? And I had to like remind myself, like, whoa, like when did you become my God, right? Like when did you had to tell me what I should be doing, what I should be doing? Like I was literally told, well, my son was throwing up and sick, by the way, so I was late to our conference play. And I was told, oh, well, the girls feel like you don't value them. And at the end of the day, I literally looked at her and I was like, well, the only person that I low-key care about is my son, knowing that I value him, because who's pouring in and building life for him? And if I'm not there for him, who the heck else is going to be there? So it was a wake-up call for me, because as y'all can see, the coaching standpoint is a portal as well too. The same way I left, somebody easily replaced me. The coaching and the things are still going to move and happen, and life's still going to happen. But my son remembers that moment when he was literally in the bathroom for hours and I was rubbing his back. Like he remembers waking up to me and seeing my face to heal him and go from there. And like our bond has gotten stronger, and he is more successful because I chose to do what God told me to do, not anybody else directing that path for me. And so burnout is definitely real. The other thing I would say is have community too. Like have your people. Like I be literally sending like TikTok videos to one of my pitching people just so we can laugh about the craziness that be happening in the softball world. Like it's just literally crazy. And I can look at people and be like, y'all saw that? You see how crazy the blue is? Not say anything, because like we still have to find joy in those moments. And I think for me not to get frustrated is I get reminded of the young ladies that, I have been blessed to guide and direct, and recognizing that I am a human being too. Like literally at church, I'd be like, hi, I'm Sai, I'm a sinner, because like I need them to know that I'm going to fail. They have seen me fail. They have seen me mop the floor back up. And they have been like literally behind me, like, okay, so what? Like, we gonna have to figure this out. Yeah, you made a mistake. So what? We don't care. We got your back. They've literally told me on the field, oh, don't worry, Coach Sai, we got your back. And we'll end up winning the game or turning it around. But that's just like, I don't know. There's so many multi-layers to it. We could talk about this for another hour, but
I'm the coach that got burnt out. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it, y'all. I don't coach no more. Cam, my sister, a bunch of people in the softball community. I'm a DeKalb County product. I am not coaching anymore. I think my last straw, and I think too, God showed me my purpose. I was coaching at Bethune-Cookman, and nothing against Bethune, but I think that the caliber of girls and my reality and their reality versus their reality. I got to a point that I felt like I couldn't have real conversations. I felt like I couldn't push my girls to their max. It was a bunch of things that I just felt like I couldn't do anymore. And parents were a big part of college, y'all. When I went to college and when they went to college, your parents was hands off at this point. You're grown. Once you cross through those thresholds of the university or college you go to, you are considered grown. When parents were very effective when it came to coaches getting hired and fired, problem. When players felt like they can just talk to you any kind of way, not advocating for themselves, but just talk to you, attitude, this and that. And guess what? The player's always right. Well, I know when I coached, the player was always right. And I think my last straw for knowing that, hey, Tiff, this might be your last year. My cousin, I had a little cousin that plays for Savannah State. They came in town. Everybody knows win or lose, you go eat. Team go eat. Our team got per diem, go off. My little cousin asked me, can I come eat dinner with them? Not the team, her. Just like you said, how the players, my head coach called me in the next day and was like, the players felt like you were going more for that team than your own team. And I was so confused, y'all. No lie. I went home, I thought about it, and I prayed about it. Y'all think I'm lying. The next year I got knocked unconscious in California in a tournament. And that redirected my path. Not ideal, but I knew I had prayed. Just God, send me a sign. I can't, I'm not even sugarcoating. Right? And God said, you know what? I can show you better than I can tell you. Pitchers warming up. She was throwing a drop ball. I'm looking at all pitchers warm up. I turned back around. Girl hit me in the head. Knocked unconscious. Boom. Regardless, I'm grateful. I praise God for that moment. Y'all think I'm lying? Because when I got hit, I no longer could coach. I had to figure out my next path. But I didn't want to coach y'all. I prayed. God sent me a sign, and I found out my purpose was more developing athletes academically and mentally. And that's what I do. I will help here and there, but I got burnt out. I was tired. It wasn't for me. And I'm okay with saying it. My sister always talk junk to me because she love it. That's her thing. I say no to her. Come out and help my kids. No, I'm not. I'm not. But if you want to talk to me and you have questions, I'll answer them. But I was one of them coaches that I was just burnt out, y'all. And maybe, playing my whole life, grade school, college, and doing all that, I got to a point that I was just tired, and I'm ready to do what Tiff want to do. Nobody's going to direct that path but God. So if you do become burnt out, it's okay. It's okay to hang it up. I promise you. Nobody's going to fight you, be upset, but it's okay to be true to yourself. Because a lot of times people are walking around here sad, even as adults that are coaching, you're walking around here purposeless. Because you just stuck in something that you used to have a passion for, but now you don't know how to pivot to something else. I knew how to pivot. God showed me. I got knocked unconscious. I praise God.
So I think one of the best things that my parents instilled in me, even as a player, was to have things outside of the game that I could rely on so I didn't get burnt out, right? So I played basketball. I was horrible, but I did it because it was something different. I did gymnastics randomly. I was an actor for a while. Like, my parents allowed me to explore, but then I was ultimately able to choose softball, right? So making it a choice was a way that I didn't feel burnt out or like, oh, this is something that I have to do. So I was super thankful for them for that, right? And then getting to college, it's all you do. It becomes your job, right? You're getting paid to be there, you know, and God willing, I have no debt because of the game, right? So those things that continue to motivate you, like show you what it's all for, right? And I think that helps prevent it a little bit. But on the flip side, right, as a coach now, once again, getting paid to do it, right? It's how I make my living, but it's not all that I do, right? And it's not all that I am. And I think sometimes the players, that's all they see you as, right? So in building those relationships, you know, I tell them, I'm like, hey guys, like I do have a life outside of this as well. So please don't text me or call me at 9 p.m. because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to respond. If it's an emergency, yes, right? But not everything is an emergency and I can get to it, you know, in the morning. So kind of just setting those boundaries, which I know is kind of hard and uncomfortable to have with them. But I think it's super important. Like I had one of my pitchers who, you know, I was super appreciative. She texted me over winter break because, you know, I could only guess if they were doing their workouts like they were supposed to be. But she was sending me video and asking for feedback and everything like that. But it was on Christmas Eve, right? And I'm from California, so I'm 2,000 miles away from my family and I get to spend 10 days with them throughout the whole year. And she was like, dang, you're not going to text me back? And that for me was like, no, I'm not going to text you back because this is the only time I get to spend with my family. I'm actually not on my phone. Right. And, you know, we laugh about it now, but it was one of those moments where I'm like, to them, they don't have that perspective on things, right? Or they don't understand. So you got to make them understand sometimes that, you know, certain things aren't okay, right? And it's our life. It is the same space that we share and it's how we know each other, but it's not our everything, right? So I, you know, have had a couple of those moments where I'm like, yeah, I just got to get back to this later. Which is hard because I do want to be that person that they still do text, right? Or that they still do have that relationship with, but not at my own expense. So just making sure that you find that line and you stick with your boundary. And, you know, they can be very persuasive. So I'm trying my best to continue holding those boundaries, but just not letting it oversee like your life and overtake you in that way.
Well, I'm a volunteer coach, so you can get burned out because I am a travel ball coach. But one way to avoid getting burned out is have good coaching staff. If you get a good set of assistant coaches that have the same mindset, you could call Felix or some, but if you have the same mindset, you have someone to help run drills the way you're going to run them. That'll take some of the pressure off. Don't try to do it all yourself. You know, try to offload some of your responsibilities. One of the key is you got to be on time for your practice. I have a lot of coaches showing up when the girls are showing up. That's not a good look. You gotta be there already. Not one time has my team ever said, "I'm there, the coach not there." If I'm not there, the assistant coach there, somebody's going to be there. It's going to be already set up, ready to roll. But the one way to avoid getting burned out in the travel ball is try to be very organized. But get some coaches on your side that's going to think like you.
So, oh man, for some reason, I've been blessed. I'm using quotations when I say that. I coach by myself. I don't know how I do it. I know it's like the Lord and his angels. And yes, we'll talk about that later. How am I going to put this? When I would do spring practice for D1 Vision, like all my parents' daddies were literally like, hey, I think power is with community and being able to bring people together, right? And like build a team, and they see your vision and they will execute. And I think that spring, man, like my dads like had my back. Like they came with ladders, they came with literally all types of stuff, to the point to where like I wrote the practice plan, I gave it to them, and I like, you know, very respectfully was like, hey, like do not say nothing to your kid. I'm out there coaching her, like, and I need you to trust like what I'm seeing and what I'm doing. And even if I'm not saying something to her, that doesn't leave space for you to mention anything. And my dad's like, I didn't feed a ball, because the girls know I can't do front toss, period. But I didn't feed a ball, like I didn't hit a ball. I was able to literally walk around and coach. But I had to trust that vision and have people around me to build that. And then the other part, so I also do recruiting for some of the other teams within our organization. So the girls know I'll already be at the field, but I'm not there at the warm-ups with them. And so entrusting and having those leaders to delegate with the girls, and then also we're not low key. I love you, but I'm not here to be your friend. Like Coach Sy kind of left me in charge, and I need you to hold the same standard that you would have. Like I can say I have a whole bunch of athletes on my team that they know I'm not. I can tell. I can look at you and be like, "Oh, you didn't warm up for real. You ain't starting." Right. And so just building that rapport with the people that are in your village and coaching your team.
Burnout is something that I didn't personally experience. As Tiffany mentioned, she was quick to say, I think this is a love that I've had since a little girl. So when I pivoted from coaching collegiately, my focus was development, because I'm gonna be honest, I was pissed at the level of development that our girls were coming up to Division I level of play, and you don't have the fundamentals down. So I did pivot, and I came back home, started working with the high schools in the area, and then that made me pivot again. Because, well, let me take that back. It was travel ball. And then I realized, as they said in the other one, girls were skipping the rec level, skipping high school, going straight to travel. Well, you can't go to travel if you don't have the fundamentals down. And so I pivoted, and I started volunteering and helping high school coaches. And then I finally went back and started volunteering my time at the rec level, because I realized, if coaches don't realize it, if you don't have a pitcher, you don't have a team. I mean, I do value catchers, believe me, I value catchers. But if you don't have a pitcher that can throw the ball up there, you don't have a team. And so I realized that we are a rare commodity. And I'm saying that because Tiffany and I were blessed to be both Division I pitchers. And so I started taking my sessions to the rec level, helping build the rec departments, volunteering my time to get those girls, well, to fill that gap, so that Coach Sy and Coach Alexandria Alexandria won't get the, not fundamentally sound or even mentally tough athlete. And I say that to say, because I have a 12-year-old myself. Now I'm gonna tell you this: she's better than her aunt and I. However, I keep her humble, and that's what Coach Sy spoke about. But I keep her humble, and I let her know when people tell her, "Oh, you're good." No, you're not. You're not yet. Not yet. You might be good for the surrounding area, but you're not good. There's a girl out there your age way better. I'm not saying compete with her, compete with yourself. So I say that to say, with the burnout, I didn't. I just pivoted and found the group that I needed to feed. And I found out that I needed to feed the parents as well. So in that, I didn't have to get hit upside my head. What I realized is, instead of not wanting to talk to the parents, I'm going to just focus on that foundational piece where I can develop elite rec players to transition to middle school, high school, travel ball teams, and understand softball IQ.
No, for sure. Appreciate that. So our last question, because I want to know, I know this is, it's a big deal for every level, really, but especially at the travel level, the rec level, the youth level. Coaching elite athletes versus coaching developing athletes. Okay, because I know everybody's team in here has one that's, man, she can play. And man, she might not have played softball before. And it's tough to have practices and you have these two maybe even playing the same position.
Okay, so I think it goes back to just the core of like the standards, right? Understanding standards, because you could be the best athlete on the team, and then somebody next to you be an unsung hero. You know what I'm saying? Like one that barely plays, but they get called on and they ready and they get up and they win the game. You know what I'm saying? So I think it just goes back to the standards and helping them to understand across the board what is expected of everyone, right? Because you could be great, because I pretty much, out of all of the teams that I've ever played on, I've always been one of the best players, right? And so I've never felt that of like trying to really build a skill set that I need to perform or to play. But it was just a standard, right? It was just that standard that I always went by. And I picked up balls just like someone who wasn't in the lineup, right? Like it's just that standard. I think just across the board, letting everyone know and understand that this is what is expected from everyone, even though so-and-so might be better, right, at the skill. It doesn't matter. Like that person's not above you. Right. Like y'all all still pick up balls. You all still pick up all the equipment, set it up, do things like that, right? But I think it just goes back to the standards and it being the same for everybody.
And then adding to that, letting every player on the team know that they are a piece of the puzzle that's important. No one is bigger than the next. I always tell them that everybody is needed. Today you might need to be the number one cheerleader. Tomorrow, that developed player needs to be the unsung hero, and the undeveloped player needs to be, the constant morale or whatever the case may be. So I say that to say I always identify the developed from the undeveloped and put them in position so that they can all shine. I don't need my developed athlete to always start shortstop. If she's shortstop, center field, go and support the girls who don't have great throws. Be the first baseman today. Pick them up. Be a picker today. If I have a hot corner, it's one of those things where you put her in position to assist her team where they're needed. And that's why it goes back to you're not a one-dimensional player. If coach need me to be here, I'm going to show up there today. So it's just identifying their strengths and then putting them to use.
Well, one thing I do with my players, I'm big on setting goals. So with my travel team, and you can ask CC, my daughter, we have a lot. I make them fill out I got it right here. Feel his nose, but then here's that, like, you can buy this from Walmart. But then there are index cards, and I have all the girls. I give them all the book. And ask them to fill out a goal. Your goal is your goal. Whatever you put on here is your goal. But I want you to tear it out, put it on your mirror. You look at it every day. And I had a lot of girls who didn't do what they're supposed to. They wouldn't do it. You are going to have that. And then you're going to have some that's going to really take it serious. And I had one girl, and it was Cece. We were playing down in McDonough. She hit a ball over the fence. The first one over the fence. She was yelling around the base. I can check it off. I can check it off. But that gave her a purpose. And I on my travel team now, I have a girl now say, I don't do goals. I just let life happen. And I said, well, what grade are you in? And she told me she was like in 7th. I said, you plan on going to the 8th? And she said, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You're just out there.
Yeah, right.
So you got to have a goal.
Yeah, that's good.
So what you got to do is you got to give them a purpose.
Yeah,
And my daughter, she probably won't be saying anything, but she said, hey, she said, I got a whiteboard in my room and I wrote all of my goals on there. I want to make SIC championship. I want to be a SIC player of the year. I want to steal so many bases. I want to lead the team in home runs. And that's the season went. And the other girls on the team, they were checking their goals off. And they was SIC player of the year. And it works. And one day she called me and said, the coach is we're not doing practice like we're supposed to. We're not batting like we're supposed to. I said, well, what did your goal say? It said that I'm going to lead the team in home runs. I said, well, then why are you telling me?
Yeah, you got to get to work.
It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with you. I mean, with me, you work towards your goal. Like you said, your 12-year-old daughter, she's competing against her goals. So if you got a player that's elite, they have different goals than the one that's below.
For sure.
So they're competing against their own goals. So so that's what it's going to take. I'm big on that.
Yeah, that's great.
And then, like, he piggybacked off of him when I was in college, and Red knows too. Goal books. That's what we used to have to write our goals down, and grade them at the end of every practice. So we'll go out to center field and sit. Well, you write them before when you get to practice or before, and then at the end we grade them. We sit and you grade yourself A, B, C. Just 3 simple goals, like I'm gonna field 3 straight balls in a row, stuff like that. But one thing I was just telling her was one for those developed players versus the ones that need a little bit of assistance. At the end of the year, and this is to build morale, but also to show that you bring something to the table. At the end of the semester or that year before you go into the season, you'll write down, everybody on the team, including the coaches, you'll write down one great thing you think about your team, your teammate. And it could be anything. It doesn't even have to be necessarily softball related. You like, hey, I like how you dress. Your hair is always done. Girl, you be maxing out in the weight room. I want to be strong like you. Everybody writes, including the managers too. And you write it down and you laminate it at the end of the season. And we had to put it in our lockers, but your girls can put it in bat bags. But then just think about like the star player on the team writing something on the girl who never thought she had a chance on a walk on. And she see, girl, I like how hard you work. that type of stuff is motivational. So I guess being not necessarily athletic with practicing, but I guess the mental aspect of it and the camaraderie on the team, that's something that you can do, because I'm not gonna lie. When we did it, I had one of the girls, I was shortstop actually, and she's a head coach at Georgia Tech now. She wrote something on mine that I still think about to this day. And it felt great that how highly she thought of me. Hell, I thought she was the best person, like best shortstop in the world. And to know that she was like, I love pitching behind you, TJ. That's the only, I love pitching behind you, TJ. And that sticks with me to this day. And we still have a great relationship. But me thinking that, she's superior to me when it comes to her athletic ability, I mean, I felt like I was good. I feel like that day girl was great. But it felt good. So if you want to build the morale and have team building, that's something that you can do. And you make sure they keep it in their bag. Because on their days where they're not performing, whether it's the greatest player on the team or, a player that needs a little bit more help, when you read that or you say, hey, go look in a bad bag, go look at that sheet. Because that's what our coach used to do. Go look at that sheet. Before you come out here, go look at what your teammates put about you. So you know that you do those things great. You know you add something to the team.
I want to add two things. So the first thing is really teaching kids how to change their perspective on what they view is like, I guess, important. And what I mean by that is like a lot of times we look at a leadoff batter or a shortstop and society can overvalue, or pitcher, right? They can overvalue their worth versus a right fielder or our 9-hole hitter that is a slapper getting on base, setting up the leadoff hitter and things like that. So we've worked really, 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 really hard to change the narrative and the perspective of valuing. Like literally, if you get a bunt down, and the girls will tell you, it's like you hit a home run. Like they're coming out the dugout, there's like, and then the home run leads to, or the bunt leads to a stolen base, and the stolen base leads to a single up the field, and like they are screaming, like you thought like somebody won the Women's College World Series, like they're a hot mess, like in real life. But we make sure that we like talk about that, and then I could share it with Cam. We have like a little things like sheet on defense and offense. So for example, like our pitchers, like a goal is I need a first pitch strike, right? And like you'll hear the goal like, oh, that's 3 in a row, first pitch strikes. I'm like, okay, thanks. I'm locking it, But it's just like, and then you see the pitcher smirking, and like you just see the difference of like, just her body language, like somebody taking the chart. But one of the things I did step away from, like towards the end of the seasons, we used to do circles at the end, and we did shout out. So you had to shout out something positive or something well you did today, and then something you did with somebody else. And so let's go back to, let's say I'm 0 for 7. What the hell I done did well today? Like you want me to talk about something I did well today after I dropped the pop fly in the outfield and that girl just ran around like she owned the place, and then I went up and struck out on 3 rise balls knowing that a rise ball was coming, like, and you want me to talk about something I did well today? And it brings back, right, like, hey, I hate to put it this way, but it is only a game. And like my value isn't in that. And I have to like use words to change my mindset about like something positive that happened that day. But then also, right, we've had it to where the bullpen catcher, is getting a shout out like, hey, my curveball was on point, and I was able to strike out girls because you really challenged me on my spin, or you told me to like stay close off the mound, or things like that. Like that's what's happening, because like we said, like we all are one body. So you can't, just because the mouthpiece is talking doesn't mean you don't need the pinky toe to stand firm and have a strong foundation. So just teaching your girls to really value other aspects of the game that are not tailored around the shortstop and the pitcher and the leadoff hitter is important.
I had one of my freshman pitchers come in, and I kind of asked all of them, I'm like, well, do you guys prefer to start? Do you like to come in as relief? Do you like to close? Kind of, just trying to set up, our bullpen and how we're going to use them and be successful in using them, right? Because some people find a lot of pressure starting the game. They'd rather just come in for a couple innings and then be out of there, right? So one of them said, well, I like to start because then I know you believe in me. Like, you think I can do it if you start me. I'm like, well, at this level, it's a lot of things go into that. So that's not really true, But like if I had never asked, I never would have known her mindset on that, right? So then she doesn't start a fall game and she's like, well, she doesn't think I could do it. No, you throw a rise ball and this team hits rise balls, so you're probably not going to throw here. But having that conversation, I feel like especially early on, just set them up, not knowing that it's about your talent level, right? It's about the need in the moment. And I think the more open coaches can be with them about those kinds of things, the more bought in they'll be when it is time for them to play their role, right? So like knowing, hey, we do scouting reports together, right? So of course I do my own, but we watch film together. You're going to do a scouting report too. How would you face this team? Or be self-aware enough to say, I'm probably not a good matchup for them. Like I think they would hit this, this, and this, right? But I think, you know, my teammate over here, she'd kill him, right? She'd mow him down. They see each other throw, right? I like to pair different ones with each other so that they can see their work in the bullpen, so that they're aware of that as well, you know. And then we're super lucky to have catchers who are in there too, and they're like, well, I think she could do it, you know, really good with this pitch, right? And they're all involved, and that comes back to like being able to shout their teammates out because they're involved, but also as coaches shouting them out too. I try to do at least 3 shout outs per practice, right? So after practice, we all talk as a team, but I try to shout out those girls who I saw working hard, whether it's on little things that people might not see of like, hey, you were super vocal today, right? That's one thing we're working on is our pitchers are really trying to say that, you know, they control the game, right? Own that then, control the game. Use your space, right? Walk around in the circle, say, hey, the ball's coming to you, here we go, let's get it out. Something, but own it, right? So that was my challenge to them this week, shouting them out. Hey, you guys did really good on that, right? Or, you know, a freshman who's really been struggling at the plate hit 3 out in 1 round. I'm like, hey, here you go. Like, that's awesome, right? And just showing that you see them show up in those ways too, I think can, you know, take them from not feeling as confident in their abilities, right? Or thinking that they're still developing something to like, oh, I am doing it, right? And continuing to do that when you get that positive feedback, I think is huge as well. Absolutely.
Coach C, we're gonna do it. You good? All righty. All right, guys. So that will conclude our panel. Please give them a round of applause. They were great. Next, about 3 to 5 minutes, we're gonna do a little networking. All right. So we need everybody to go around, get at least 3 contacts from people in the room. All right, we got a community. We got to stick together. We got to know each other. We got to do things together. All right, please. Yeah, just amongst all the. Oh, okay, yeah. Real quick, please. Hey, real quick. I'm sorry. We had one question here.
I have a question for the panel real quick. I did want to see you. I have a couple of older girls that I think actually want to be people that cloud, but I'll do it another time. So one day at practice, I had a girl. She was very emotional. She was crying, and I couldn't understand why. I yelled at her. I don't yell at my girls. I'm a girl dad. Couldn't figure out what it was. She wasn't really doing bad at batting or on defense. So it was at that point where the mom called me to the bench and was like, "Coach, she started her next level of maturity." So what I would like is advice and tips to make sure, as a male coach with male energy on the field, what should I not do or the mistake I should make with girls? I hear this term all the time, called hormonal. I know what it means, but I really don't know what it means and what that looks like. So what tips can you give me so I can be sensitive to what's going on?
Yeah, that's great.
Train to the facts, not the feelings. We operate off of facts. What's real in front of us. If she's emotional, okay, I'm just speaking from being a female myself, having a male coach, and not distinguishing whether I'm a female or male. You're coaching an athlete. So if she's emotional, I would definitely suggest, of course, no yelling, but pull her to the side. You notice something different. Give her a chance. Hey, if you're ready to communicate, then you communicate these things, but pull away because, again, I'm going to say this. I don't know if they would agree, but at 10 years old, that creates an environment. Oh, what's wrong? And then everybody's going to pay attention to her, not the game, and now we've lost focus. Pull her away. Hey, I noticed something different. Mom, at that young age, can communicate that a little sooner. Hey, this is a new, we might be this way this week today.
That way you can pay more attention to that kid and her body language and talk to the facts, not the feelings.
I'll speak on as a player, right? That component. I believe that because we were coached by males. I think that there should always be a female on staff or somebody that's affiliated with the program that the young ladies can talk to. That you might make a mom a point person, or like you might have an assistant coach. But when it comes to, because we do have a lot of emotions. And when it's around that time, a lot of things are changing internally, and you're physically just all over the place mentally. I do believe that having a female outside that's on your coaching staff or somebody that team mom or whatever that kids can go to, so you can pinpoint that person and say, hey, moving forward, being that you experienced that, because sometimes you'll never know, but they might feel more comfortable to having a female on staff that they can just talk to and express how they feel. And even if it's that time, that time for them, they're probably not going to ever feel comfortable coming to you and telling you that. But hey, they can tell, Miss Joanne, hey, well, this is what's going on with me. I'm not feeling that well today, just letting you know. Then she can relay that message to you. So you already know going into practice, hey, I just have to be mindful of the things that she's experiencing today or this week. So
Okay, and mine's gonna be really, really quick. So, and I think another something that needs to be understood is that everyone's cycle is different. Okay, because there are some girls, where, and I'm just gonna be real because we're talking about it, right? Like it can be real heavy, and they're cramping. They can't even move. They can't even do like hunched over. Sometimes I experienced that with a teammate in college, and I had no clue it could be that bad. Like I didn't know. And then when I saw her like just curled up on the dugout bench, and she's got a heating pad on, I'm like, what's wrong with that girl? And then she's like, I'm up here. I'm like, what? So I didn't know it could be that bad, but it is. And so as I was went along coaching, I really understood that. Like they do need that time. There are some that they just need to sit out. They need to sit out for a few minutes, to let it pass or whatever, right? But just like they were saying, having someone available on staff to actually like have that conversation with, because it is kind of embarrassing, right? Especially like talking to a man about it, right? And you're like, what? I'm just saying. So, but I think it's important for the men coaches to understand that yes, while you hear us say like, okay, yeah, give them some time, or sometimes, it's really not that bad, you have to understand that everyone's is different, and you don't really know truly like how they're feeling unless you have that conversation, right? To allow them to say like, I can't really go on right now, or I can jump back in the next 10 minutes, right? But just understanding that everyone's is different is important too.
And to piggyback off of that, I think it's really important to teach them how to move past that, because I think a lot of our girls get stuck in that and they are embarrassed, and being able to teach them how to get past those moments, because like that's the reality of life that you experience, literal circle of life, right? And so like teaching them tools and strategies, whether it's through another coach, whether it's through a parent, another female mentor or whatever, being able to move forward, because I've had girls like be so embarrassed that they can't come on the field anymore. And so we have a motto on our team, so what's next, right? And like it looks different for every athlete, right? It's going to look different from Mariah. It's going to look different for Kaylin. It's going to look different from KK. And that's also knowing your athlete. But they understand that, like, I had my little moment, like I gathered myself and my life is literally together now. And now I have to step back out and I have to perform, which is really, 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 really hard, especially with everything I'm going for. So each athlete that I've trained, we have a different understanding of what's next looks like. And I gotta, no nonsense. I gotta kind of gentle push them back out into the real world so they can learn how to like train their wings.
I think that's part of like the self-advocacy that we talked about earlier too, is like my dad was super involved with my softball career. Like my mom really wasn't there when it came to going to tournaments or, being at practice or whatever, just because of work hours, right? So that was me and my dad's thing, and I have brothers, so it's just me. So being like, hey, no, I need to go to the bathroom, and being like, oh, can you guys go get me some pads at the store? Whatever it is, like being able to advocate for yourself, because there wasn't that other person that's going to do it for me, right? So, and around that time too, I did have male coaches, but they also were surrounded by 20 girls, however many people were on my travel team that were like, yeah, me too, girl, you know, whatever. They had to get comfortable with it, right? So if that's something you're willing to do, right, especially if you stick with that core group of girls, it's only going to get more and more of them as they get older, right? So finding those tools now of being like, okay, well, what do you need, right? Or, and not giving them too much leeway. I mean, it's not like it's, you know, it can be debilitating for some, but like it's not that. They have to learn how to work through it because it's going to be for the rest of their lives, right? So just knowing that and kind of you know, and everyone's different. Some will be too embarrassed to say something, and some will be more like us where they're like, you know, this is what's happening, so what? So I think that just depends on the person too.
And I'm a girl dad as well, and I always make sure I have a female on the staff or a team mom, and it's very they would not take it from a man and say move past it. It's not going to go over well. But something happened to me that's new since I started. I go from older girls to younger girls, but when I had the older group of girls, I had some of the girls running like this. And it's because they didn't have sports bras on, and I couldn't I didn't feel comfortable telling them no I'm not gonna go tell. So that's when I went to my female assistant, say, hey, can you talk to her and her mom? And we had the team moms get together, got her fitted, and they took care of all that for me. But I can't do it. But,
Any more questions?
Hello, everyone. I'm Coach Lou. I own Fierce Softball Hitting. I'm an individual softball coach. I teach individual players on what their specs, what they need to improve on. So last year I had an incident to where I had been working with a player, very athletic. She needed just to make a couple of different changes in her hitting, which we was working on, and she was improving. She was looking real good compared, you know, from what I thought. So she made it on a travel team. Her mother had to drive her an hour and a half because we live south of Atlanta. There's not many travel teams down there, so she had to drive her up north, which she did. And the coach changed everything. So the mother came back to me, and I said, they're the coaches. They're, you know, they have the team. I don't know how much more I can integrate with the coach. Everybody has their likings of what they want each player to do. So long story short, we end up having, I end up speaking to the coach, letting them know what we were working on, what I knew what her deficits was, and I showed them the video. And so we end up working around it, but it was an issue at the beginning. How do you deal with like the players that have the individual coaching with their outside coaches or instructors and integrating it into a team with the coach if they don't like something that they're doing or feel like it could be better?
I have the same thing happen with me. A lot of coaches, you got to be careful. A lot of coaches like to put their stamp on a player, and may not necessarily. It may be sometimes the swing is perfect. Just might need to tweak a little things, but they want to change everything because they want to say, "Hey, I made them good." So you got to be careful of those type of coaches. So, like you said, you did the right thing to try to talk to the coach and try to come up with a somewhere a middle ground. But and I see it happen all the time. Yeah, but yeah.
And I mean, I think it's important to have that conversation, right? Like, because if you don't, then it's like now the athlete is confused,
Stuff.
right? It's like, okay, well, do I listen to you or do I listen to you? You know, and I think just, you know, because growing up, I had a lot of coaches, and I wasn't like a team hopper or anything like that, but I did stay on a team, you know, for at least 2 or 3 years. And I didn't have any sort of lessons or anything like that, but I did have multiple coaches that had somewhat different philosophies across the years, right? So it'd be like, you know, one inning, one coach is telling me this, and another inning, another coach is telling me this. And it's like, well, coach said this, I was supposed to do it like this. And they're like, nah, do it like this, right? And so dealing with that, you have to understand at the core of like what you're doing, right? Like the skill of it. Like you have to be comfortable, number one, right? Just be comfortable in what you're doing. And a lot of coaches, they always say like, well, when you with me, you listen to me, right? Because I tell my listen, I tell my athletes that I train, I'm like, listen, like I get that, I understand that, but that's adaptability as well, right? Understanding how to be adaptable in the environment that you're in, because at the core of it, it's not even about the environment, it's about you. It's about you, right? Because it shouldn't be like, if it's cold one morning, right, and you go out there and you can't really play, but if it's hot one morning, it's like, oh hell yeah, I'm about to get out there and go full force. But I just think at the core of it, just understanding, okay, this is what they're trying to tell me. I need to be able to connect in this way, in my body, physical body, to be able to get to that, right? And of course, like improving. But I think, it's just taking from what you get in the environment that you're in and being able to adapt to that information and be able to at least apply and perform to the best way possible, whatever way they're telling you to do it, right? But still at the core of it, it's like, okay, this is how it's supposed to feel, right? I'm supposed to hit it like this, right? Because that's what you want, right? You want them to play free. You want them to play smooth, right? And it's not always about this. I'm telling you to do it like this, right? Sometimes they just need to be an athlete, right? And just allow them to just play. But I think too, to help kind of bridge the gap between trainer and coach is to have that conversation, right? And the connection with that, so that you are staying on top of what you're working on every single week.
So I don't train like individual lessons anymore. Like I'm like full time in the coaching, whatever. And that used to be my mindset. Like, listen to me literally only. Like you're literally my client now. You ain't going to these bum people. I'm kidding. I'm not. But anyways, I say all that to say the reps in the cages and the reps on the field are two different mindsets and two different things. So I guess the question is like, how are we as trainers approaching game-like situations with our athletes from a defensive perspective, from a mental perspective, and from an offensive perspective, number one? Because there would be, oh my gosh, we fixed this in the cages. The same weekend, little girl showed with a little video, and I'm like, yikes, that loop getting bigger, right? And so like, and so to their coach, it does look like nothing is happening, right? It does look, there is a perspective to where it can appear, right, that training isn't happening, which is, like you said, there has to be that bridge. One of the things that I've grown from being adaptable in my coaching career is, we coach, how am I going to put this? The being the athlete part, but to be honest with you, like the technique low key go out the window when you're at the plate. So in the game situation, so like when we would play in Rutgers and it's 27 degrees, I'm choking my hands up and I'm putting down a freaking bunt and I'm using my speed. What I look like swinging the bat, like, you know what I mean? So like, it's just understanding the scenario and being able to teach to the girls like talent and strengths and things like that, because the mindset is going to be different. But like I said, like that's the work that I did as a coach, being, hey, what are you working on with your coaches? Okay, well, I understand why they're doing that, because like in real time, this is what I'm seeing, and this is why you're doing this drill with your trainer. So like keep doing the drill. Like I know it doesn't feel, you're not seeing it, like you're not seeing the success right now, but like with practice. And here's the other part too. What work is she doing out of the hour with you? Like, is she working every day? Because there's that component to where that parent's like, well, I'm paying $50 for this little lesson and nothing ain't happened. Well, guess what? 30 minutes, 7 days a week ain't gonna do nothing, right? And so like having that, sorry, soapbox moment. But like these are the realities and things that we don't talk about, right? And like these are the things that people try to avoid. And but also I think why, we've done a good job at like on my team retaining kids, like even when they're where they didn't start for me or the fall, or even if they felt like they slumped, because there's a conversation around development and around confidence and around like the internal work and the physical work that we're doing, that like I don't give two craps, about like you going to hit a home run. Like I genuinely care about the kid that's showing up to me every single day and who you get to go be, like when you go to Georgia State, when you go to Memphis, when you're going to your respective schools, and how are you allowing what we poured into you to kind of like be watered and fed by the coaching staff around you. So it's multi-layered, but
I would also add to that, especially if it's a young athlete. Yes, I commend the conversation, but as a trainer myself as well, outside of showing up to see what how they're transitioning from a training session to a game, outside of the work that they do in between, I like to tell my parents, drills teach skills, right? Situations teach decisions, and the game demands both. So in order to be successful at all of that, I have to do my part as a trainer. I have to go and see what is not being transitioned from our cage session, field session to the game, because the coach and I can be aligned. The kid is just not applying what was done in the session to the game. So yes, have that conversation up front, but also, and then also teach the kid to advocate, like, yes, we're focused on this one part, right? I can't go to step 3 and 4 until we master 1 and 2, and that's what you all are on. So the coach has to align with the training session. And again, as a trainer like Red, now I'm gonna tell you to listen to me, because your coach is teaching you game situations while I'm teaching you skills, but you have to apply both. So we have to be on the same accord. Oh. Drills teach skills, situations teach decisions, and the game demands both.
And also too, like I think when I guess speaking as a player and then transitioning coaching, I'm big on stick with what works because I used to train too. So like if your coach, like if your head coach is teaching you something and it's working for you in game like speed, do what you need to do. I don't necessarily try. Well, when I was coaching, I never try to truly tweak something. Just make an adjustment. So of course you got a drop ball pitcher. You're trying to lift it, right? You can't swing down on a drop ball. So those are just like minor adjustments. I don't never really try to change much, unless of course you have a girl that just have a quirky swing and it's crazy and it's not working. But I used to tell my kids stick with what works, because you're going to collegiate level. These kids now have all different types of trainers, and these coaches are trying to. And it's just like, I'm going to stick with what works until I need to make an adjustment.
The baseball swing is a little different than the softball swing. So let you know that. Because I do see a lot of baseball coaches teaching softball without, really knowing how balls move. So you got to be real careful with that.
Yeah, and I want to. I'm sorry. Okay, right. But no, for real though, because it has to be different. Why? Because the trajectory of the ball coming out of the hand. Okay, number one, that's what you got to understand, the trajectory of the ball, how it's exiting, the velocity of that, right? Because baseball's going down, right? So they have to have the launch angle. Correct? They have to go like that, right? But that's not softball, because we have a rise ball. We have a rise ball, okay? So the ball is coming from here, okay? So you've got to be in line. You can't be or even like that. You can't be like that, right? So, but with the baseball, it's only one trajectory, which is down. It's down. Even if it's a higher pitch, it's still going down, okay? So I just want to say that, because yes, thank you. Yeah. And I see girls on here we go. Everybody gets that.
No, well, all I was gonna say is like, because this is me being humble. This is coming from a 3-time All-American that batted above 400 and is literally an expert in the game of softball from the offensive side. So like, this is me humbly saying that, period, because like anything that's coming out her mouth because she has the resume to prove it, literally to prove it. So that's it. I just wanted to give you your flowers.
From left side, she could tap a ball, y'all, and we played together. Like we played together, and this was my right hand man. And when I went to Georgia Tech, I advocated, go get her, coach. Please go watch her play. That's how good she was, y'all. She could put a ball 2 steps in front of the catcher, where the catcher didn't have to do nothing but this, and she saved. She could power slap. I ain't never met a person that can slap, bunt, power slap, tap.
dance, whatever, and she and she is either home run or she on first. She say like, when I played, I just thank God that we never had to play them. I can humbly say that too. I'm giving her flowers. I never wanted to pitch to her. It's a lot of friends that I pitched against and was like, yeah, I got this girl. This one, she went about to embarrass me. Thank God Georgia Tech. Thank God Georgia Tech went to have to play Mizzou. Damn.
If I see a girl on deck swinging up while she on deck, pitcher's not gonna give her anything low. I'm telling you that now. It's gonna stay right around the way of the belt. So. Yeah.
Right up here. World Series against Hawaii.
So be careful. Where you get your lessons from. Make sure they're.
Yes, absolutely.
And this will be our last.
Hey everybody, Coach Chrissy, Lawrenceville, Rose Jordan, whichever one. But so to go off of that part, right? There's the coach and trainer, but then there's the coach and the worst, the parent who wants to coach, has never played the game, don't know. You spoke on a little bit, but specifically you tell them to go home and practice, right? But then there's the parent who's like, the coach not telling you this, do this and change this. And then they come back and it's like, where did this scoop? Why are you scooping? What? No, we're not doing that. What is that? And so how do you, yeah, I know you got a mouthful. So like for me, it's like definitely setting the standard with the parents. Like you said, there's a fence here, stay over there. But then when they go home with that parent, I'm not there to tell the parent, you're wrong, like just straight up, like just you know what I mean. And so I wanted to just ask, how is there a because I'm a blunt, straightforward person, and I've gotten into it with some parents who, hey, it is what it is. But I do want to learn how to convey that a little better of, hey, I'm the coach, you're the parent. Be the parent, let me do the coaching, but take what I'm doing and like reinforce what I'm doing at home.
Let's get two panelists because we do gotta move.
I'll keep it quick. Standard expectation. That's where we start. When that kid goes home, I definitely have that conversation with the parents all together collectively. We are a team. We can't operate one without the next. So if I send one home and these are the instructions, I expect everybody to come back. Now, consequences to that because we've all had them. When you do your own thing, you play on your own team. That's it. So, well, I'm gonna just say this. I've dealt with it all, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm not as laid back as my sister Tiffany. I was the dog. I was the bite your head off. I'm probably you, but I had to professionally learn how to tame not just my tongue, but interact with these parents and to get them to see. Because just like we're giving Rhea her accolades, her flowers, it's parents that know all of our accolades and still think they're better. Well, guess what? You're not for me, and I'm not for you.
Okay. We've established a 24-hour rule. Yes, because I've had my moments where I've had to allow, parents found out. I'm very nice, but then there's another side of me. Yep. But no, there has to be a 24-hour rule because everybody has to de-escalate. The parent, the child, the coach, and then to be honest with you, it was low-key kind of scary at first because like they're paying money, right? Well, in my case, they're paying money for something, right? Whether it's recruiting, whether it's development, whether it's playing time, whatever, there's an expectation there. So it does go back to the standard, but also too, like on the contract, you signed it. So now it's my job, right, to remind you of what you signed, to remind you of the trust that you've instilled in me. And now I have to kind of like put you back on the road because we used it. I forgot the scripture, but I think it's John 13:7 where Jesus is saying like, you don't understand what I'm doing now, but you will later. And I remind them of that, like, hey, like this may be uncomfortable right now, right? But like later on, like we all will understand what the process was for your daughter's future, right? It's not about you in that moment. I know you're advocating for her, but in this moment, right, like everybody is learning, and later on we'll be able to see it, come back and revisit it. But that 24-hour rule is like a thing. I don't care what time. I don't care. I'll be walking to the car. Coach, I look just like that and I keep moving. Nope.
So now we're gonna move on to the networking portion, and so it'll be everybody inclusively. Y'all just go around, meet each other, get at least 3 numbers from somebody that you can connect with. If it's a high school coach, college coach, trainer, just something. All right.
Perfect. Hi, I know. Yes.
Not going to be before you long. So I guess I should do my introduction since I took the time out to write this stuff down. Nervous, think that I was not going to finish it. Coaches, my name is Danisha Johnson, formerly known as Coach D, and today we're talking about team structure practices. And I want to make this statement because I know they're going to say I'm the quote queen or whatever, but talent doesn't separate teams. Training does. So, whatever. I'm only going to cover the 6 pillars of a practice plan because I know the rest of the coaches have their portion to cover and then it'll be repetitive. But most importantly, on the handout that you all were given, right, there are 3 parts of a practice and there are 6 pillars to that. The first one is the expectation when I told you prepare the kids when they come out, what to expect in your practice, how you expect them to focus. So I use a universal, hey ladies, today's focus is this, right? And our pace is effort, communication, and it's one more. You all have the sheet, but I say that to say it's just a consistent speech, right? That they know they're prepared for. So if we're going to have a hard practice afterwards, after this speech, and I'm getting all the fillers in and understanding how their day was and whatever the case may be, the next phase we're going to go into is the workout, the warm-up. So when they're warming up, whether it's an extended throwing session, I'm just going to say this, at the lower level, I extend throwing. These ladies over here will tell you, if you can't throw 60 feet, there's no need to even say that you're going to play softball, and definitely not as an elite level player. So at the foundational level, the rec level, the 12 and under, middle school and under, we have 30-minute throwing sessions. That's it. Rec, I know some coaches don't have more than an hour and a half, 15 minutes throwing. 15 minutes warming up, then there's literally 15 minutes of throwing. Whether we choose to throw at 30 feet and maximize that, whether we choose to just throw 60 feet down through the target, we are focused on the fundamentals of softball, which leads us after warm-up, the fundamentals of softball. That's glove work. That's footwork, right? That's hand-eye coordination. Those drills, whatever your focus on, then your focus is that practice. Those drills are usually tailored to that. So we're doing a lot of glove work first and third. Situational plays, it just depends. That segment of the practice is going to focus on specifically that. The 4th part of that is going into situations. How many of us, let me ask this, how many of us write down our practice plans? Okay, that is the key, because I meant to tell you all this. A practice plan that does not have a structure is a random practice, which means you're going to get random reactions in a game. Okay, and so I say that to bridge the piece of situationals. That's when you want to focus on. If this kid is having a problem or struggling with 2 strikes, right, a 2-strike count, we're going to focus on that in situations. If this kid is having a problem with fielding bunts down third, then there's going to be a segment in there where infield is working on infield work, corners, middle. You may see some coaches do corners, middle, pitcher catcher, outfield. Some might do the whole left field sideline. We're working right sideline, working in and up the middle. It just depends on how you structure your practice. After the situationals is then when you go into the challenge. Some people say challenge, some people say mini games. I know at the college level, they probably have mini games. At the rec level, even at high school level, I will focus on the challenge. Because again, I don't believe in pressure. Let me state that. I don't believe in pressure. I just believe that's a lack of preparation. Because in practice, every situation that could happen, possibly could happen, we're going to think about it. We're going to go over it in that challenge portion of the training session. So that means I might have my 3 challenges that I think they struggle with, and then we open it up like Coach Sy says. Hey, what are your thoughts? What are you struggling with? Now we can go over this live, and there is a talking point. But I say that to say, make sure you cover those challenges in the game. That's what's going to happen. So again, that goes back to not the talented team that wins the game or has the most success. It's the better trained team, because the training reps is what prepare you for what is to come in the game. Nerves are taken out of that. Does that make sense? Alrighty then, and at the 3 standards of practice, of course the standard practice is generic, and I'm going over the standard because that's basic level. The second part, which is the competitive part, which is mostly your college and your high school. Creating a competitive practice is creating what they identify as a pressurous practice, which means creating game scenarios. That's it. So my practice no longer at the high school or collegiate level. After we get done with fundamentals, we go straight into situationals. Because the situations are the ones that we're going to perform over and over and over and over again. And then that's when I learned, for me at the younger age, what the girls are nervous about. What do they fear? I put them in those situations. Why? Because those are situations that come up. I can speak for myself. I know as a pitcher, because Tiffany and I, of course, we used to compete back in the day. Well, not necessarily compete, but we would outwork each other, right? I knew my struggle, bases loaded, and there's a full count on the batter. I'm not giving up a hit. What am I doing? Okay. And I'm going to tell you a funny joke situation at the very end. She's over there laughing. But I learned then, and I'm going to tell you this because I was a hard-headed athlete. I was a daddy's girl. And he told me what not to do, but I did it anyway. So I'll get to that after the competitive practice, the practice the game, right? How do you transition your practices to your games? How many of your practices are at least 30-40% game tempo? So if we're not incorporating game tempo in our practices, how do you expect them to actually perform on game day? The drills that you all train? No, we train game speed. There's a tempo. That's the only thing that changes from a 4U team to a collegiate team is the tempo of the game. So I say that to say the 6 pillars that you have, expectations are the beginning, right? After you go over your expectations, they're a warm-up. After your warm-up, you go over the fundamentals. That's the third one. After fundamentals, there's situations. After the situations, there's a challenge or scenarios, right? After that challenge, then we review and we conclude that practice. Did we meet our goals? Did we hit that marker? What are the small wins? Okay? And that's what you have to celebrate. I know Rhea had spoken on that when she was on the panel, but small wins matter. I promise you they matter. Especially as a pitcher, it matters. I may have struggled all day, but when I was able to locate in the key situations, I had success. But the thing was taking those cues, those 3-second cues to regroup when there wasn't success. Those are the small wins. Normally, I would rush. Instead of rushing, 3-second cues, take a deep breath, maybe look at somebody that I trust, say something under my breath to them, give them some type of smoke signal, and then get back on the mound and throw it. But I say that to say, I will leave you with this. Don't aim for a perfect practice. Aim for a repeatable practice. That's how you be a repeatable athlete. All right? Other than that, now I'm done. I'll get to that challenge that Miss Tiffany Johnson was over there laughing at. So I'll share with you guys. Tiffany's freshman year, she went to FAMU. And so with us always growing up together and challenging each other and going to training, I was faced with that scenario. Bases loaded. And guess who was at the plate? My sister. My sister was at the plate. And it was not favorable to me, so I will tell you this. Tiff was at the plate. My dad was telling me, no, don't throw it in on her hands. Screwball was my favorite pitch. One of my best pitch. No, don't do it. Guess what I did? I threw that screwball in there so fast and so hard, and I promise you by the time Tiffany finished swinging, it was a country mile past the fence, over the trees, and everybody ran around, and she was laughing. But understand this. She did come back to the plate that next at bat, and I got my lick back. I'm done. Any questions? I'm not going to say that on TV, but I got my lick back. Any questions for me? None. Thank you. Oh yeah, she was gonna hit me back to the country.
I'm a pitching coach at Georgia State University. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of developing bullpen concepts that work for your staff, as well as how to develop a pitching rotation when it comes competition season. So first I'll start by just kind of talking about the process of when you intake athletes, right? So this year we only have 4 pitchers, which is a little bit scary. At the Division I level, you typically have anywhere from 6 to 8, right? And then to add on to that a little bit, we don't have as much experience. We have 1 senior, 1 junior, and then a sophomore and a freshman. So we kind of have a little bit of everything there as well, but we only had 1 returner, okay, and then 3 newbies. So I was only familiar, I'd only worked with 1 pitcher, and then you're bringing in 3 new people, right? So you're starting off on a pretty rocky slate, I guess you could say, but you don't know much about them, right? You see someone when you recruit them, and you see them in game time, but how is that going to translate when now you get to college and you're working out every day and you're more fatigued and everything like that? And that's where assessment starts, right? So I'm a big believer in giving people the chance to prove what they've got, right? And not coming in as a coach with that kind of preconceived notion of how you're going to use them or, kind of what they're about, everything like that. Like, let them show you, right? Let their talent speak for themselves. So that's where we start with assessment. So when the girls come in, that very first couple days, right, 2 or 3 days is all assessment, where they throw their pitches, we take video, we use Rapsodo, right, to track their ball flight data, movement, break, velo, everything like that. But they throw, and it's really hard for me because I love to talk, but I'll just sit there and watch and kind of let them do their thing to kind of see how they I ask them, hey, throw your pitches from the ones you like most to the ones you like the least. Because I think it's super interesting when they see their ball flight data, right, and their movement. Sometimes the pitches that they don't really like are the ones that move the best, right? So finding that out too, okay? So when we started with these 4 pitchers, pretty much all of them were rise ball pitchers, right? So that's also a little worrisome because you want to have some differentiation between your pitchers, right? I don't want to take out a rise ball pitcher and put another one in. Now it's like there was never a pitching change, right? That team that's, might have caught up to the rise ball is now just going to see it again, right? So seeing what else they have, you never want to change, right? At least I don't, the core of who that person is, right? I recruited you for a reason. I recruited you because I like this pitch. If that's your favorite pitch, right? I don't want to take that away from you, but you gotta have to find something to set that off too. So in that assessment time, with these 4 pitchers, 2 definitely looked the exact same, okay? They had up break and down spin and an off speed. 1, their plot went this way, right? So a lot of glove side run naturally. The other one, arm side run, okay? So those 2 look the same. Their balls do move a little different, and we have some variation in speed. Then you had another rise ball pitcher, but her data looked like nothing was really rising, okay? So that was super interesting because that's all she threw, right? And then you had another one who was a lot of mix of speeds. So she can throw up, down, at mix of speeds. So then working with that, it's a hard conversation to have with someone, but you say, hey, I need someone that does something different. You got to be that person for me, right? And seeing if they'll buy in. So I have a 5th-year senior who only threw up. She threw rise ball, fastball, curveball, and changeup, okay? The rise ball didn't really rise. So I'm like, hey, I need someone to do something different. Have you ever thrown a drop ball? She said, well, no. Okay, she's 22, almost 23 years old. Am I going to be crazy enough to teach her a new pitch? The answer is yes. So we started off, hey, let's just work grip, see what's comfortable. I was lucky enough to catch some All-Americans in my career, one who threw an insane drop ball. So I immediately call her. I'm like, what do I need to do to get this girl going? Okay. We're doing crazy drills. She feels super uncomfortable, but she's bought in, right? Because I told her this is where you will play if you're able to throw this for us, right? And that's a big part, just having them buy in and actually want to do it. And we had a pretty short time right before competition started in fall, about four weeks. So we taught her this drop ball, and now she's throwing it at 68 miles an hour with, 6 inches of break going down, and is able to throw it against Georgia and go 3 innings scoreless, right? That's huge for someone who's never thrown this pitch. Okay, and then we can offset her now with a rise ball, right, when she finally is tired or has to get pulled out of a game, and it's a completely different look. We also developed our other rise ball pitcher to throw it at 3 levels. Then we developed our other one to throw it at 3 different speeds, right? So we're not necessarily seeing the same exact thing, even though we're utilizing all those tools. And then another pitcher, we can work everything with her, right? So then having that communication piece that we've been talking about pretty much all day of, hey, if you go in for her, but she's killed them with the rides, I need you to come in with your change or your drop, right? So just knowing those things and having the ability to plug your staff in those different ways ends up developing, right, your rotation as you go along, right? And at our level, scouting reports play a lot of it. Like I talked about, I'm not going to start you if I think you're going to fail, right? That doesn't help the team and it doesn't help you. So just having those open conversations of this is why you're playing and this is what we'll work on in the bullpen throughout that whole entire week to get you geared up to go, right? So that's how we approach those weeks as well is, hey, we're going to, open up against West Georgia. Well, we're going to face their lineup all week in the bullpen, right? So that we know that we're confident enough when we go face them, right? So we'll put stand-in batters in there. I have the girls actually be live stand-ins, right? The other batters. And I'll say, hey, this girl starts off the plate. Can you mimic that for us? So we'll have a lefty off the plate, as a stand-in. Now they face that girl. So when they get into those scenarios, they feel that much more comfortable in game, right? And then actually mimicking that with a live batter, say, hey, you're going to come in. This is the situation. This is what I need you to do, right? So those things also help them feel more comfortable in those situations, but they also have an understanding of what they need to do there as well. And I think building that progression, right? Building that progression also builds trust. So it's not like, well, I came in throwing this, now I look completely different and I don't know why, right? They know exactly why. And they're that much more excited when it works, right? Because they see that those puzzle pieces have finally fit. Yeah. Any questions? I know I can talk a bunch. Yes.
I'm Coach Williams at Bays High School. I'm a baseball guy, softball coach now. And I am inheriting a program, well, I have a program that we're building from the ground up. And so if you're trying to establish a bullpen, not just but I have a freshman now, and I think she's going to be good.
Yeah.
What are the fundamental principles that you would teach your teacher? And right now, I'm just trying to get her to command a good fastball.
Yeah.
Before we even get to the different pitches, what are like the fundamental pieces that you would, teach a girl who might not have ever pitched, let's say in high school level?
Yeah, I think it starts from the ground up, right? In my opinion, that's where we've been able to see a lot of growth in terms of velocity and also more consistency, right? As if they can start with consistent legs, right? So teaching them proper way to load, right? Some of my girls have really big loads to get them going. I actually started one, she bounces now, right? So that's her key to actually activate her legs is to literally be on the mound like this, where some other ones can't even move that way, right? And then once they're there, right, some of my girls also get super rotational, okay? So they'll be over-rotated here. Then when they come out, they're over here. Then they have to try to get back around to get over there. So now they're hitting their hip, right? So I think it all starts there. And everyone's going to be different in what they need, right? But getting them to the place where they can really launch out, right? Load, then launch out. And then once they're there, what can we do with our arm action, right? So some have, a lot more upper arm dominance, while they're kind of tend to go glove side because their upper arm's really activated as they go. And then some that have more arm side run are very lower arm activated, right? So kind of finding that it's going to be different, right, for her, especially with fastball. The more consistent she can be with every single piece of her motion, then you'll find that, right? But just kind of isolating those for her. And if you can do it in video, that's great. I was a player, I was in denial all the time. I'm like, my hands aren't dropping. My hands aren't dropping. My dad would show me and it's like, oh, every time, right? So being able to show them, hey, your load is actually not that great. Maybe engage a little bit more, feel more push when you drive out, different things like that. But I think the more that they can see themselves doing it and then be able to repeat that, even if it's for, 4 reps this time, then we can go 5 reps next week, right? But if we can't get 4, we can never get 5. Just kind of finding that middle ground too. Yeah, of course.
I also don't want to dominate. Another question is, what is a good rep amount for, bullpens for our beginners?
Yeah, I think it depends on who they are too. I think some of our pitchers, they have 2 off days in the week just because they go really hard for that amount of time. They exert a lot more energy and force. So I think just depending on who you have, right? Kind of finding that area between, there's a lot of intensity, right? But we want more intent. We don't want the intent to go just because they're so fatigued. So we usually do reps no more than 6 if we're working a specific pitch or tunneling 2 pitches, and then kind of go off the intensity. So sometimes we're only working at 75% for that day, but we can get a lot of reps in, but they're not at full intensity, right? So kind of trying to find that balance between, is it a lot of reps, but are they quality reps, versus like less amount and more intent there too. Yeah, of course. Yep.
So I have a travel team, but I'm the director of East Park.
Mhm.
And I guess part of our issue is the development of pictures.
Mhm.
Once we get them developed, they scurry off.
Yeah.
What do you think is, I guess, like, so like we start, I guess, an inning pitch
Mhm.
at 8. How do you think we can, I guess, develop more in that time, and then try to keep them to where 10U, because 10U is like the drop off and it picks back up 12U on, I guess, like, make the most reps
Mhm.
in that situation, because it's only one inning from 8. They go from one inning to a full game.
Right. That is a hard transition, I would say, for sure. I think that just the more outside work they can get, right? So whether that's in practice, they throw more to the team. I know that was super beneficial for me, like at that age, right? Is because then as the hitter too, like you're helping your hitters on your team because they're now going to see a pitcher for a whole game too. So I think doing that, or if they go to lessons or anything like that, that can help bridge that gap and not necessarily get them fatigued from going from literally 0 to 100, I feel like. But I think that that's probably the best way, is just build that into your practice somehow to have them actually face those live batters, because it can be really scary too for a pitcher to now have to face someone every time, and they're not used to that, and the ball like quite literally being hit back at them. So I think the more you can get them used to that, the better too. Anything else?
One last
Yeah.
So, because she's a freshman, so
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to get to this question next sooner down the road. Is there like a specific place or anything I can look into as far as better understanding how to teach
Mhm.
different pitches, like the change of the rise ball? This is all coming so
Yeah.
fast. I'm trying to soak it all in.
No worries. There's so many like resources online. I would look at OGX, they're pitching consulting, and they have like a bunch of YouTube videos as well, but it will help with things like that. Yeah, OGX, yeah. And we use them like for consulting, even at our level, right? And they're, I mean, the best when it comes to pitching. They know their stuff like the back of their hand. So they can see our video and be like, well, this is exactly what she's doing. You should do this, this, and this week to help her bring it back, right? So, and they have, like I said, a ton of videos online. I love that they have like skeletal, they'll show like the skeleton of a human moving and like where the pressure points are, where they need to be, different things like that, like down to the nitty gritty. So that way you're able to find out, okay, this does apply to my player. Of course. Okay. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Stretched and uncomfortable is a real life thing. And this is a real life moment where you're going to see me stretched and a little bit uncomfortable, because at like Rhea, I was an outfielder, but when you've been coaching for 13 years, you got to have all the skill sets, right, to be able to do it. So this is going to be a little bit of a stretch for me because I'm going to be talking about infield skills. Yikes. I'm kidding. and infield skills, and then like game like play. And so because I'm constantly setting myself up as a learner, I'm not uncomfortable in this space because I'm always reaching out to people that have a higher skill set than me, especially my young ladies. So I was blessed enough to be able in a very short amount of time to bring on some young ladies that play infield actually, or outfield. So we have Kaylin Arnold. She's committed to Memphis, and she is going to go play softball there. Oh my gosh, she's 26. We have Mariah. She's going to Gardner Webb, and she's playing softball there as well too. And then we have KK Madry. She played at Liberty, just graduated, and she played for Oklahoma Sparks this past summer. Amazing outfielder, also infielder, left, all the things. I could talk about her all day, but I've been blessed to have them in my life and rely on them for their expertise as well too. So some of the things that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about just the training aspect of it, and then we're going to talk about the coaching aspect of it, because like I said, I've been able to coach them in game day settings and be able to remind them of who they are, but also to the, you know, some of the mentalities there. So I'm going to let Mariah start because she is a fundamentals like junkie, and she's really big into her pre-game, her pre-warm-up set. So I'm going to have her talk to you about just locating the ball in, and then working through some of the fundamental things that she goes from there. Then we're going to talk about some strategies, and then we're going to talk about like game like preparation and things like that. So go ahead. Does she need the mic, or she's good? Okay. I'm gonna pass it on.
Okay. So I say the most important part of like fielding is making sure that you see the ball all the way in the glove. It's like plenty of times where people like think they have the ball, then they turn their head, look at the runner or anything, and they'll end up missing the ball or like hit the top of their glove just because like not looking all the way in the glove. So that's something important.
So give me this. I was just holding on this song. But no, it goes back to teachable moments, right? We talk about putting girls in situations where they're stretched as well too, so they can go and drop gems to, anyways, doesn't matter. But it goes back to what we talked about earlier in the panel, right? Like your eyes are gonna go, your body's gonna follow your eyes. So we want to make sure we're starting off the ground up and staying low. So one of the pre-warm-ups that we do on our team is the girls start without gloves. They're literally on the knees. They're starting in the chest position where they're bent, and then they're in a position to where they're just focusing on seeing the ball in, securing the ball, and then practicing the transfer situation. So we do normal, we do forehand, we do backhand, and then they literally move low-key in a squat position to where they're doing the exact same thing. And so we do talk about not necessarily perfection, but just like having feel-good reps before you move on to the next fundamental rep from there. And then when it comes to their training drills, Kelly, you'll toss from there. So this is one of the ladder drills that we work on. So what Mariah is going to do is she's going to go, and it is game-like, it's fast-paced, and you're going to see it kind of in real time. But she's working on both sides, her forehand and her backhand, but also her footwork and the ladder. So I'm going to let her demonstrate, and then we can kind of talk through from there.
Okay, first I'm gonna talk to you so y'all know what I'm doing. Yikes. Okay, so I would start off with one foot in the box and the other foot down, and I'm in my fielding position. You don't gotta roll yet. And then I would switch. I would go up a box, and I would go to my backhand, go up a box to my forehand, next box to my backhand, and when I'm done, I would normally do a run through, throw off to like the net or a person. There's no run through in here, okay? No.
And so if you're thinking about like novice, smaller ages, we brought PVC pipes to where they're just practicing the crossover back and forth with no ball. And then as they continue to level up in skill, you can use a ladder, you can use things like that. But to create soft hands, we like to use tennis balls as well too, because the tennis balls get real bouncy and they'll bounce off of your hand, but also too, it helps the girls create that fork-like pocket, because if a tennis ball hits the palm, what's it gonna do? Shoot off the palm. So, quicker. This is them every day, all day, every day. This is what I deal with, and you guys get to see it in person. But it's funny because as like silly and like as much fun as we have like on the field, they are dogs. They don't play with nobody. Period. So one more time, just to go through it. Habit by habit.
Wait, I'm so sorry. Okay, last time.
For the people in the back, last time's the charm. Just go, come on. All right. Any questions about why this drill, like why the drill, things like that, before we move on to the next one? You guys kind of understand the purpose. And also too, it really helps them increase, it starts to really recognize their range, but also too, we talk about the pivot, right? A lot of times middle infielders, especially corners, they have to change direction a lot, right? And so working on being able to keep your weight literally within your knees versus letting it roll out and being able to transition quickly to the next side, right? It's all about staying centered and staying balanced. And we're going to use KK for this next drill. So for the next drill, it's actually one of my faves, even when I wasn't an infielder. It was at University of Georgia, we had to do infield drills as well too, and it was, yeah. Coach Lou is awesome. She just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Shout out to her. But what it is we call it do or die. So typically we have two cones, kind of like, what is that? Maybe 10 yards apart, and she's going to start center. And one of the things we talk about is the unpredictability of the game, right? And so even though she's an infielder, she needs to be an outfielder because we have that Bermuda Triangle we like to talk about behind second base. So when we first start the drill, we make it a competition. Let's see how many you can get in a row. And then the next girl is competing behind her, just healthy competition. I brought, oh, she's going to be mad for me saying this, but I brought like Starbucks to the one, you know, just different things like that, just to encourage or increase just the level of competitiveness with healthy competition within the team, because they need to learn how to compete, especially at the collegiate level. And so she's going to start in the cones, and I'm going to just like be nice and like roll her ball. As soon as she touches the ball, another ball is coming. As soon as that she drops that ball, another ball is coming. And then as she's starting to like feel good, I challenge, because now that she has the confidence, we're going to challenge her range. But this is a test to the drill work that you've done, whether you're doing like a cone drill, working on the footwork to open up behind second base, where you're working on her backhand or angles. This is like the test to that drill. It's like one of my favorite drills. Okay, you ready? And then just catch and drop. Get there. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Touch and go. Go, come on, come on. Good. Come on, come on. Now, normally I'm not that nice because she's a professional athlete, period. And so normally, like, we will increase the speed. Sometimes I'll throw two balls and I'll make her choose a color, like literally in that moment. And it just kind of like hand-eye, all the things, right? All the things are being practiced in that moment. Questions about that drill? Yes, we do end up moving to real balls. Yes, we do end up moving to real balls. And then we've also done it to where I'll have a double line to where it's either like a third baseman and a shortstop, or a third baseman, a shortstop, and an outfielder, just to increase the communication. Because a lot of times, right, like they'll depend on the shortstop to get the ball because they think, oh, well, that's the 5-6 hole, so like the shortstop should get the ball. No, you have great range too, and your momentum's going that way, right? So really, you have the better opportunity to get the girl out. But yeah, those are just our two. But game like, can you actually, so game day things, one of the things that we do stress within our play and within our team is you've already done the work.
Now we're just playing softball. We're just doing what we love to do. So we do speak on the so what's next mentality, especially from the Kaylin also catches too. So especially from the catching perspective, she's touching the ball every single transaction, right? And then from an infielder perspective, she's probably not you, but normally infielders, I actually did the research earlier, but second base has the most errors, like period, hands down in the position of softball. And so does right field actually, because there's this mentality of like, I'm hiding my weakness, my weakest player there, period. And that for us is not necessarily true. Everybody is play second base. Everybody is play shortstop. We don't do, oh, I'm hiding my weakest player out there. All of us are going to have that standard. But getting them over that hump when they make have an error, especially when she's one of the loudest people, she is directing my defense. So if there is an error, what is my job, right? How am I helping her move on to the next play? What's her mentality like? And so can you walk us through some of the things that you say to yourself, especially after an error or like pre-pitch, things like that?
One thing that I learned is softball is definitely a game of failure, and you can't be down on yourself if you're talking up somebody else. So let's say I make an error, I'm like, dang. I'll probably give myself 10 seconds, maybe walk in a circle, and I'll be like, hey, you got it, hey, you got it, hey, talking about somebody else, because you can't focus on two things at once like that for real. So I think it's just important to pick up other people, let somebody know, like, I apologize, I got you, that's on me, next time I got it. Like, just let your pitcher know that you got her back. And I think it's important for you to be that good of a teammate to let everybody know that you're good. And don't hold your head down, because it's going to happen.
And then one of the things I could say she does well, and I've got to watch her for 3 years, is she does a good job of owning and embracing the failure. Even in those quiet moments where I'm like checking in on her and looking at her like, hey, are you okay? Because she's extra quiet. That's just her moment, right? And sometimes you have to allow athletes to kind of have that moment. And a lot of times she'll come up to me, it's like, it's okay, Coach Todd, because I'm going to get it back on offense. I'm like, okay, I got you, okay. And like, kid you not, she'll go back and she'll get it back on offense. And I think that's the beautiful side of allowing the girls to play both sides of the game and showing them that that may not have been your time now, but like your time is coming again. And let's be ready for that and the preparation for it. And then the biggest thing, especially for our Black athletes, is the emotional regulation. Teaching them how to breathe through things, teaching them that I'm actually working that through my son. Like, if he gets something wrong, he immediately is like, I'm a failure, right? And it's not something he's been taught, but it's just something that honestly the enemy is implanting in his head. So now we're doing consistent work to make sure we're emotionally regulating him in high pressure situations so he's prepared for those, right? Society sees it as pressure, but when you practice those things every single day, it's a normal day, right? It's an everyday thing that we do all the time. So am I missing anything, y'all? Okay. Anybody questions, comments, concerns? Oh, yikes. Okay. My favorite thing to coach.
What tips do you have? I mean, I try to tell them, I mean, when the ball's in the air, it's everybody's ball until you're go. Until you call off of it. It's still at work.
Yep. So, technology, you have access to other things. So they'll tell you, I watch film, they watch film on Game Changer. And so we are constantly talking about it, so much so that Mariah be like, hey, Coach Todd, that's the girl that hit da-da-da-da. I know already, but that's just how we communicate. Like the softball IQ on our team is just almost an expectation now. And so number one, knowing who's at the plate, right? Like from the swing, is she using her legs? Oh no, is she using her legs? Oh yeah, okay, outfield, we got to back up some, which means now I have to shift everybody, right? If I'm shifting my outfield, somebody has, either we're going to know that there's a gap there and like shortstop's going to have to go back hard or second base is going to have to cut across hard, but we're literally communicating that literally in the moment. Like I can't sit there and see the gap and not say something. If that means I have to call a timeout, and most of the time I don't, what am I doing normally? Telling y'all to call a timeout.
and I'm shouting out the information, and they're talking amongst the girls, and because they're the ones playing the game. They have to learn how to figure out to communicate and be on one accord. I can't do it for them, right? And those toolboxes that we talk about at practice, now they get to actually implement it, right? And if they get it wrong, so what? We talk about it at the end of the game, right? It's going to happen. I'm not expecting them to be perfect, right? But they're going to mess up. I'm going to mess up. And it's about like, hey, I'm proud of you for taking the risk. Like, you took that leadership role, and man, like, keep it up, because you're going to continue to make decisions, and you're going to continue to learn from them. So we try not to look at it as failures or different things like that, more so as opportunities for growth and opportunities to learn. But for the Bermuda Triangle, essentially, when that happens, man, Jada's communicating something, Mariah's communicating something. I'm naming the girls already, but they're constantly, every single pitch, hey, I'm in a 3-4 hole, so okay, I got you. I'll dive here, or hey, I'm going to cut in front of the bag. Like, they are constantly making sure that they're covering every little crack on the field. So I know it's probably different for like lower age groups, but yeah.
And I played with Jada for like a few years now. We played on another team together. So we have like that built-in like communication. Like, I'll turn around. I'm supposed to talk between every pitch. So I'm at shortstop. I'll turn around like, hey, you got me on the shallow ball. I'm playing up. I'll talk to all the outfielders. I'll tell the second baseman, talk to the right fielder. I'll make sure everybody's talking to the pitcher. And she'll be like, Mariah, I'm playing back. Like, you got anything up here? And maybe like early off in the game, we don't talk that much like outfield and infield. So maybe one ball will drop. And after that, we'll make sure we're talking like, hey, I'm right here. Like, we just make sure we talk after a mistake has happened, or we talk before anything can happen. So it's just important to make sure you have that communication built in, like, on everybody on the field. Like, turn around, see where you're playing, and like know your range. Like, I know Jada, she can run, so I could play. I give her a little bit more room, and then I know, like, between my left fielder, I'll probably like, okay, like, make sure I get this shallow ball or any foul balls up here, because she can't move like Jada. No, because she, yeah.
Even on top of that, so when I'm not playing catcher, which is my primary, I'm playing first base. And when it comes to like the Bermuda Triangle on the other side, honestly, if everybody just goes hard, one of us is going to be there to get the ball. So it's really just going as hard as you can until somebody calls you off. Because sometimes maybe I get a better step than my second baseman gets, or our outfielder is deep. So if I'm there and I can go get it, then I'm going to go get it. Yes, it may be a harder play for me, and later Coach might be like, come on, right field, like, step it up a little bit, like, you have an easier play. But hey, if the ball is caught, the ball is caught. And then it goes back, and it just goes back to just knowing where everybody is. So it's like, I know my first step is super important. If she just moved our right fielder back and now it's a semi-shallow pop-up, I'm having to go 2 times harder, basically, because I know she has farther to come. So it's really going to be up to me and the second baseman to get there. And if it's coming more towards foul territory, I have a better chance than the second baseman, even though she has a better angle. But still, once we all get there, if everybody's there, then it's just communication. So it's just about being there and going hard, and then letting the moment decide what's happening next.
I know, at least for me in college, we did these drills. Obviously, like, you could do that one where like it's like fast motion and you're trying to think quick, but sometimes the game can get too fast. So in practice, maybe you could do like super high pop-ups to maybe give them more time to process, like, and be like, feel where they're at, like in the outfield or in the infield, and be like, I actually have a whole lot of time to be like, hey, this is my ball, and not like, is it mine type thing, because that's what it feels like for me, at least. And I'm pretty fast, like, I get to balls very quick, but then I second guess, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to take the ball from the other person. And that's another thing too that they might be doing, like, I don't want to get in their way, but they can't think like that. Obviously, it's easier to tell them than for them to do, but everyone just needs to be confident in themselves ultimately, and just be like, if I'm there, I can take it, because I know I can go make the play. So if they're confident, like, oh, I'm going to make this play, then you're going to have everybody, I got it, no, I got it. And then you can tell them, hey, shortstop gets it within the infield, unless maybe it's a play to a certain area that's maybe the second baseman is better off because they need to go to third type thing. And even in the outfield, usually center field has priority. But if we're going to a different base, no, it's not, because now they have to completely, and they're probably going to make an error. So
Oh, wait, one more thing with Coach Sai. Even with so another thing for like the practice part of it is truly just making kids uncomfortable because the uncomfortable becomes comfortable once you do it enough. And like as much as I hate it as a player, you have to get uncomfortable because you don't get any better unless you get uncomfortable. And then like when coaches force you to get uncomfortable, when there's an opportunity for a play, you're equipped with so many options and you don't feel stuck because it's not just one thing you can do. Like you can do so many different things in the same scenario. So it just like helps it just helps you on the field because like it slows the game back down in the moment. And that's all.
Going off of that, I would say making sure that the practices are harder than the game. Like I train with my dad and he'll be like, "You tired? Okay, let's go again." Like he makes sure that when the game time come, everything is like, okay, I can do this with my eyes closed because I do it 10 times harder at practice. And also with the little triangle thing, I say it's more so communication. Like who's gonna call the ball? If everybody's going and somebody else hears somebody else's footsteps, they're gonna say, "Oh, I don't want to hit her. I don't want to hit her," and then everybody's gonna fall off the ball. So let's make sure that somebody takes charge. And since you're with 14-year-olds, I say make sure the center fielder is like taking charge of like the outfielder. Make sure she's using her voice. And
my staff, everybody. Like, but Coach Johnson, let's go back to the standard, right? Let's go back to the standard, period. But no, y'all are done with the mic. So anybody else? Yes. No, but in all seriousness, I think this is where like I have to understand that this is not my actual strength, and I can lean on my people that I know can give it 1,000 times better than I could do it. So like I guess as a coach, like don't be afraid to like put the spotlight on your kids or on other people because like this is giving them opportunity and access to only God knows what. So all right, that's it. Bye. No. Let's get that. What?
Okay, and like the sequencing of that, and I now coach, I went from the Division I to the high school level, so I understand what it's like to have 17 pitches, and I know what it's like to have a fastball that may or may not even be a strike, right? So you're like, what is pitch calling when you only have one pitch, right? But it is like your storytelling. You're talking about what you want the ball game. You control everything with pitch calling. The problem that I noticed when I was a college coach was we would recruit these catchers that were phenomenal. They had their like all the drills, you name it, they could do it, but they could not make a decision. And I think that's for any of those athletes. You have to be able to make a decision, which comes with pitch calling. So first of all, I start with my catchers, my P's and C's as I call them. Servant leadership is our number one thing. We've got to trust each other. We've got to work for each other. Because if that catcher's scared, or I'm nervous, or that pitcher, I'm a college pitcher, I know what it's like to throw to somebody when I don't believe in the pitch. You know, when you don't trust who you're throwing to, you don't trust who's calling your pitches. It throws off your game, and you're not going to spin the pitch as well. The catcher's not going to be able to frame as well. So at the same time, it's like you've got to create a trust where we're all working together. When now with the whole earpiece thing, it totally changes life, right? It totally makes things a whole lot easier to communicate with everybody, make sure we're all on the same page. That, right? Like they see everything. However, you've got to teach them. It is a skill that is learned. We don't just know this. I know I have called some pitches where I don't think that ball has landed yet. Okay, like it is still flying because that girl hit that ball so hard. But you've got to introduce them to failure. Catching is just like pitching. We often have pitchers who work on their craft, who are super into it, who are like, we can spin pitches, I can throw this. But very few times we work with that catcher to be like, hey, you're probably going to fail.
Because what do pitchers do when they fail? Catchers clean it up, right? That's the way it works. That's what you do. You make it look good. We've got to make it understandable for the catcher to fail. Now, y'all are younger people, I think, predominantly. Here's what I have done in the past. Oftentimes when I've gone to schools, catchers didn't know how to call pitches because the coach, I don't mean this in a negative way, was almost so scared that if they didn't have control over it, then it wasn't going to go well. And don't get me wrong, we've called some bad pitches again. There's a girl that hit one, I don't think it's landed yet, on a pitch by that catcher, okay? Like, you're going to call bad pitches. However, you have got to embrace them on failure. They've got to fail forward. They have got to, like, hey, just like they do, they get that failure, they hit them, and they take that step forward. That's what you've got to train them. But guess what? If they always succeed, they don't know how to fail forward. So at the same time, when they're calling pitches, sometimes the parents like to get involved. I think we talked about that. Nothing's worse than you've got to, like, a little 12U catcher back there, you know, and I'm not saying let them call the national championship game or anything, but when they're 12U, let them call their pitches. Sometimes, like, they'll put their little finger at practice sometimes. We'll have, like, because we want to practice faster than the game. That way, when they're in the game, like, this is boring. So when we're in the ball game or practice ball game, the catcher will put the number beside on her leg, like when you're squatted, she will drop the number beside me, and I'll know the number I want, and she'll have the number that she wants, and we'll see how we align. But then I ask why. I think athletes now get so defensive on why they're doing things. Why did you call that pitch? Why did you cut that ball? Why did you throw it there? Because if they don't have softball IQ, that separates the good from the mediocre. You've got to know it up here, but if we don't teach them, they're never going to learn. So get that 12U. Let her, like, in practice, show you what she would throw. Talk about it. Fastballs, right? I'm going to throw an inside fastball. Then we'll throw an outside fastball. Why? Because you have to look at it. Is it raining that day? Is that girl in a hitting swamp? Did she come up there, like, carrying the barrel of the bat, like, I'm about to hit a dinger on this thing? Or is she, like, carrying the handle? Is she walking funny? Did she just cut it a high pitch? Like, you've got to train them to, like, immediately click that brain on. Because sometimes I think we get complacent, especially when we're younger. I know the middle school teams. I'm working with one right now. It's like, hello, come on, stay here, you know, because they do get a little bit bored. But if they can keep that brain on, they're going to learn and they're going to make better pitch calls. So with that being said, now with the college level, I think we're a little bit spoiled. I think that is to me the most fun that you can have because the ball is generally going to be in the vicinity. You know, you can spin it and move it and do all that kind of stuff. Change planes and change speeds. That's basically like a screwball, make that an inside fastball. Change the planes and the speeds because good hitters are going to hit. Good hitters are going to adjust. So just because as coaches, I know sometimes with me, I had a catcher, she would come in and be like, hey, coach, you're following a pattern. I don't think about it. I'm charting everything. I don't think about a pattern. But you do. Eventually, you're like, well, that worked. That worked. And you're just flowing, especially the game's smooth. You're kind of getting your outs. But if you fall into that pattern, that's when the good hitters are going to hit. You've got to make sure to keep up with pitches. I am old school. I write them down. That's what I do. I have like, hey, girl looks like in a bad mood. Body language. How many times do we talk about athletes with body language? If you're turning around feeling sorry for your coach, I'm like, oh, little girl, okay, we got you. You too busy worried about your feelings. Like, okay, like we got you. You know, but when that hitter swings at that rise ball and she steps back and she's looking like she's going to throw that again, I'm going to jack this thing 300 feet, I'm like, we got to be smart here. Right? But it's all about that body language. But if that catcher is sitting back there and that girl hits that ball 300 feet on a pitch she called, and that pitcher looks at her and was like, you called the wrong pitch. Is she going to call it again? Now we're second guessing. What have they all said? All the good players, right? Confidence. You've got to trust the people that you're with. You can't play left field if you don't trust your shortstop. It's the same thing. With the younger ones, a lot of times, when parents are like, did you call that pitch? I tell them, just tell everybody I called it. Just tell them I did it. That way, if you win, you called it. If we get beat, I called it. And that gives them that little bit of failure with a safety net. Now, college pitchers, that's a little bit, we usually have a strong conversation when we come in. Because when they would come off, the catcher would be walking beside the pitcher, and we'd be like, I don't know what we're doing, I don't know how we're throwing it, I don't know what's going on, because they're having a conversation, but it's not in front of everybody. Because they're going to be a united team. At Auburn, yeah, it was fun. The girl get off the ball really, really long way. And the number one thing was somebody said, who called that pitch? And I looked at them, and I was waiting for them to just throw it on me. And they were like, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know who called it. It's hard to go with somebody when we're all on the same page. Because the catcher is playing for the pitcher, and I'm playing for them both, and the pitcher's just trying to make the job easier for the catcher. That's going to be the key. But if you don't teach them in moments of failure, they're going to second guess themselves. And again, you can have the best college catcher in the whole world, but if she can't make a choice, it's a liability. So you can be fundamentally sound, you can have everything that you need, but if you cannot just make the choice and fail at it and be okay and sell forward quick, then you're just probably pretty average. I mean, that's the way I look at it, right? Because the greats know how to fail. So with pitch calling, like I said, there's no wrong answer. You just have to like think of the weather and the day and the feeling, and if she's, like whatever's going on. Just don't fall into a pattern, move the ball around, and let the pitcher know it's okay to tell you, I missed my spot. That's all I ask for. Because there's nothing worse than me calling like the best pitch I've ever called in my life, and that girl getting a triple off of it, me thinking it was a curveball, and the girl sailed it down the middle as a fastball, and me thinking I called the pitch wrong. But if she can look at me and be like, that was our sign. If she was just like this, I'm like, we missed our spot. Like, oh, okay. She was like, I was just hoping it didn't hit me, coach. That was my fault, But with that relationship, it's not that she's not spinning pitches. It's not that we don't care. It's about like, we're okay with like, hey, that was my bad. And we don't have to tell the world. You don't have to admit your failures to everybody. Keep in your group. And a lot of times with pitching, they get so mental. It's like, I feel like with the younger pitchers especially, they just want to quit on me. And it's not quit, it's because they're so worried they let us down. It's not that they're actually quitters. And so with that, it's like, we've got to teach them how to like sit in the suck. Okay, like keep pitching, keep moving, and the catcher's got to figure out when to go out. Well, how do you know she figures out when to go out? That's on us. Because there's nothing worse in a ball game than a catcher that goes out 15 times, right? Like, what do you have to tell the girl? Like, my God, what are you talking about? Like, this is getting on your nerves. And a lot of times I know with a pitcher, there's times where I thought, girl, you can take yourself right back behind that plate because I had all of this time while I'm working hard, right? But at the same time, there's times where she knew she had to come out because I need a minute to breathe. And that circle, if you've ever been in a circle, is a very lonely place. Okay? Like, everybody loves you when it's going good. Everybody hates you when it's going bad, right? And when they're young, they struggle with that. They struggle not being okay. So if the catcher is like, hey, I'm good with failing, let's go with it, I think that's going to help build a morale that's going to help that girl keep pitching. Because a lot of girls don't keep pitching. I tell a lot of athletes, like, I have 8 eighth graders. Everybody throws 14 pitches. When they're 17, nobody wants to do it. Nobody in my area wants to play college ball. And I'm like, but you've got to learn to fail, and I think that's college softball. You got to fail and go forward. So the same thing with that. If we can just teach them how to stay together, analyze everything, again, talk to them. When they come in, why? What's going on? Did you see that? What did you see? Oh, I saw that. Like she was pulling her head out or she was looking at the sky, whatever. Like use those things just to make her think. Because at least if she's clocked in, then at least it'll be something, right? But yeah, that's all I got. I'm trying to hurry because I know y'all have a lot of information, a lot more qualified individuals than me. But just make sure your kids are failing, okay? I know that sounds really bad, right? Make sure they're in a really bad place, okay?
I was two-time Hall of Famer. Okay, now that that's out of the way. I hit over 400 consistently in college, all right? Like I said before, I got All-American, but that was mainly the reason why is because I hit over 400, okay? And I know a lot about hitting. I started off as a right-handed hitter, then I moved over to the left side to be a slapper, specifically, just a slapper. And then my sophomore year, I taught myself how to swing away.
on the left side. No one really spent the time with me to, not even my head coach. I mean, he had other things to do, right? So I had to really figure out what I needed to do to be successful off of that freshman year season that I did so well, slapping specifically, just exclusively slapping. So then I went, really dove into my practice before practice to really figure out how I was going to be able to get out of that slump that I was in, but then at the same time, be effective with actually swinging away, because I was a really good right-handed hitter, but it was kind of hard to transition that swing over, or the understanding of the feel of that swing over to the left side, because it wasn't my dominant side. So if you have some athletes that do want to switch over, just know that there is like a little learning curve there. But at the core of hitting, swinging away specifically, is balance, hand-eye coordination, and mobility. Okay, we want to make sure, and spatial awareness. Okay, our body awareness in the beginning, understanding how to move successfully, right? Just to be successful with what we're trying to achieve, which is getting a hit, right? Or just making solid contact with the ball. So at the core of it, it is balance, right? So I want you to just get into position. Right, it has nothing to do with how you hit or whatever, but I just want you to show me and show everybody else just kind of how you get in position, and then I'll just do what I need to do just to show what it needs to look like. So go ahead, you step into the box, and yeah. No, coming up the back. I'm just kidding. Good. Yes.
Well, it can be different too, because I know somebody.
You play with Rachel Root.
Yeah, that's literally.
Yes.
I start up here. I need high hands so I don't get under the ball.
Okay. Okay. So now you heard how she said, I need high hands to stay through the ball, right? That's a technique. Okay. That's just purely technique, because as we all know, whether it comes from where offense or defense, we know that there's a base level of fundamentals, right? There's an understanding how to use your energy, use the ground energy, be able to create big force, and to be consistent with that. Okay, so what I'm going to show you right now is just the position. You're right-handed, right?
I'm left-handed.
Oh, left-handed. Okay, great. Okay, so go ahead and get in position really quick. All right, so starting off, and if we're just talking about, let's say 10U, okay? Even your feet up really quick. Okay. Only reason why I'm telling her to even her feet up is because you're more inclined to make a more balanced and positive move that works well for you, as opposed to being off balance starting off. Because this right here, I'm off balance. You can see that, right? But if I'm here, I'm balanced, right? But you can even tell the difference between me standing up straight and then me doing this. Which one looks more balanced? That one. Why? Okay, good, yeah. So now if I step back here as the pitcher, okay, and your chest is standing straight up just like that. We were just talking about the feet, right? Okay, so keep your feet there. Now keep your chest up. So me as the pitcher, okay, and I'm pitching to you specifically, I have a lot of room to work with. I have a lot of room to work with. So you see the strike zone here, strike zone goes from below the hand, right below the hand. Anything underneath your hands you can hit. If it's above your hands, it's a ball. Okay? So right underneath the hands all the way down to right above the ankle. Okay? So that's what your strike zone has to be. I talk a lot about strike zone awareness, is because we have to understand how to compete with him or her, right? The umpire, right? And we've got to make sure that we're not showing any bad tendencies when it comes to our hitting, our stance, and how we move to that. Because if we show bad tendencies, just like Sai was talking about, just like Alexander was talking about, Danisha, all of them, right? Talking about the bad tendencies, and then the defense seeing that, or the coaches seeing that, and they play to that, right? They play to that. So if you're stepping out, right? Step out, yeah. So now you're more inclined, because you're stepping out like this, you're more inclined to either step in or not stride straight, right? So there's going to be a slight gap, just slightly. And I've worked with tons of hitters, right? And it's the same across the board, right? And not saying that you can't transition to this or you can't graduate to this open stance, right? But you have to know your body. You have to understand what your body is doing to be successful with that specific move right there, or that specific starting point. Okay, so what we want is even feet, okay, and hands here, right by the ear. Okay, so all we want to do, what I tell them all to pick up the bat, okay? Okay, so we want to make sure that all we're doing is just picking the bat up, okay? Because a lot of kids, they like to do this. A lot of kids like to do this. A lot of kids like to do this. Okay, so now, what's wrong with that? Which pitch do you feel like you'll be most successful with if your barrel is straight up and down? You feel like you'll be good at the rise ball or the drop ball? Drop ball, right? Yeah, easy. You can feel that, right? You can come down, okay? So now, which pitch am I going to suck at? Rise ball. I can't get up there in enough time. I can't level off my barrel to get there in enough time. So therefore, we're right. Therefore, we already know this straight up and down bat angle does not serve us well, okay? Same thing with completely flat or like deep back here, right? This here, I'm going to be really good at what pitch? Rise ball, but I'm going to suck at the drop ball. I'm going to go right over it because I'm at a flat bat angle, right? So, bat behind the head. Now, from there, here's contact right here, okay? So if I'm adding more space, that means there's more room for what? Air, right? So I don't want my barrel to be behind my head because now I'm having to travel a long way to get to the point of contact. And more often than not, I'll either, because my barrel's like this, I'll move forward, be early, or I'm gonna stay there and I'm gonna be late because it's taking too long to get to the point of contact. So I'm making contact more like back here. Making contact more up here, okay? So, want to make sure that the barrel is at 45, okay? So from here, we pick it up, barrel at 45 degrees, because you can see from this position, very easy to get through the zone, right? But it's hard if we're here or if we're here or there, okay? Next, want to make sure that the chest is connected to the strike zone. Like I was saying before, that if you're standing up tall, now the pitcher has more space to work with. She has more of an opportunity to strike you out, ground you out, or fly you out, okay? So you got to take that away from her because they're looking for the tendencies. Even though you may not feel like this is a tendency, it is, right? You're starting out in a specific way that shows like the pitcher's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can throw a curve in or a curve screw, whatever it is, right? I can pitch a rise, drop because of how you're just setting up in the box, right? And of course that matters too, where you're placed in the box, where your feet are. But here, making sure that we're balanced in the starting position and balance with the barrel, so getting in position, balance here, and making sure that the elbow is not like this. We don't want to start there, especially with the young ones. Only because, what does this promote? Pop up. Yeah, you're just going to get underneath it, right? So you want to be able to get in a stance that would provide you the moves that would allow you to go through the zone, make contact successfully, and successfully means solid. Successfully is not rolling over, making contact, right? Just making contact. We want to know how to make that contact and the hits that we're looking for so that we can be consistent with that. So we want to use the same stance, the same swing, the same moves, everything that we do here on every pitch. Because why would we have to think that we have to use a different swing? Just because it's inside pitch. What, I'm going to do like this? I'm going to open up? No. It's outside pitch. I'm going to go like this? No. I'm going to stay right here, so that I can stay on it, so I'm able to visibly see it coming in, right, effectively, so that I can make contact with the ball and stay through it. Okay, so here, get in position, bend the knees. Okay, now we're going to connect the chest to the strike zone. So bend at your waist, bend here. Nope, not at your knees. Waist. Yeah, so your butt's got to kind of stick out a little bit. Okay, just like that. Now, you can tell here, so I'm the pitcher, because you can see me now, right? Now you like, I'm going to be on top of the ball, right? So stand up. You see the difference, right? Okay, now get back down. Okay, now I'm having to figure out, okay, I only got like this much space right here. You know what I'm saying? You see that right there? I only got like this much space to like whip it in there. I'm okay over here, but you can see, even if I pitch it over here, what's she gonna do? She still has the ability to hit the ball well, right? So that's why it's important to be connected to the strike zone, and so that you don't get beat on the pitches that may get you beat up here, right? Or the umpire calling a strike and you don't feel like it's a strike because you're up here, right? So we want to make sure that we stay connected to the strike zone and then being able to make really balanced moves from there. So now, talking about balance, stride, so load stride. And a lot of times I go over just the stride, okay? Everyone, they don't necessarily know how to load, but some load very small, some load big, whatever, right? But the important part about it is getting to stride, right? Get your foot down. Get your foot down because that's the timing mechanism for your hands and the hips, right? The hip and the hands to go, right? Is that foot getting down, okay? But even if you don't load stride, don't do any of that, hand-eye coordination is at the core of it. So you have to be able to make contact, right? Be able to get through the ball effectively, seeing the ball, obviously, but the head has to stay still, okay? Even when you're moving. So even though I'm moving, my head is staying still. I'm not going like this. You see how I'm like going up and down like that? I want to just go straight here so that I'm able to visibly see the ball, because if you go up and down in that low stride, or if you make a lot of movement with your head, now the depth perception of the ball coming in is different. You're not going to be able to see that effectively, okay? So you want to make sure that you're as balanced as you can. You're not making any extra moves, any wild moves. I tell a lot of my hitters to be quiet. Don't be so loud with everything. Loud is like this, right? Just, I mean, you don't need all that, right? Because that does a lot of movement here, just like the big swing, home run hitter, which you were talking about. Big swings pull your head off. So you want to make sure that we're focusing on the process from point A to point B through C, which is extension, right? Making sure that we're able to stay through on the line and balance in that process. So we get stride. Good. And then we're getting to the point of contact, okay? So now, what a lot of hitters like to do is they like to go like this. You see how that come out a little bit? Or they like to go like that. Pull out that front side. Now, what I'm going to say with that is, who's pitching the ball? Just to get them to correct the alignment, right? Because that's an alignment issue. Who's pitching the ball? The pitcher, right? So why are my hands going that way? Why are my hands going that way? Why are my hands going up? Why are my hands going down? The ball's not coming from either one of those places, right? It's coming from the pitcher. So that's where you should take all your moves, right? To be able to stay in line with the ball. Because if I go offline, now the angle that I'm coming through the zone, the barrel, now that I'm offline, I'm not going to make contact how I want to make contact or make contact at all, right? Just depending on the pitch. So you got to make sure that the moves that we're making is all toward the pitcher. So you stride and drive through. Now, instead of going like this or like that, we want to go like this. It's a shoulder rotation. So you see this position right here? I want to move my shoulders like this. I don't want to move it like this. Where is this hit going to go? Toward first base, right? I don't want to do that. In line. If you're the pitcher, I'm in line with you. You see that? So I don't want to come across. I want to stay in line, but you have to have proper shoulder rotation. It's not just the arms, right? You have to have proper, it's the whole unit. It's here, like this, right? And it's not just that. It's, you have to get into position, hands and shoulders in position, right? But then you have to move the hands through. So it's not just, because what a lot of kids, they get kind of confused with the shoulder rotation and the swing, like what that means together. So sometimes they'll do shoulder rotation and then they'll go like that, right? We don't want that. We want shoulder rotation here, move the hands forward. So you see how I'm able to get to extension, but if I just rotate, am I able to get to extension there? No, just going up. So want to make sure that we're staying through the ball, making sure that we're balanced, and understanding the moves that we need to make. Last thing, spatial awareness in the box. Okay, understanding where you're standing in the box, but also having the same stride, having the same load. You can't go up there one time and load quick, and then get foot down quick, and then swing, and then the other time it'd be low, like long and slow. It can't be like that. It's gotta be the same thing over and over again. Just like Tanisha was saying, repeatable, right? We want it to be repeatable. We want this thing to be, I want you to be able to literally do this with your eyes closed, right? Because that's what it came to for me. I started hitting balls on the tee with my eyes closed to understand what my body was doing. And that's the biggest thing. One of the biggest things that you should do with your athlete is, because they'll think like, I can't hit the ball with my eyes closed. And it's like, yeah, you can. If you understand the swing and you understand spatial awareness, how far away you are, where the ball is. Because T is understanding timing. That's the last thing. Understanding timing, and because I can talk about this all day, but understanding timing, it should happen starting from the tee, even though the ball's not moving. And why is that? Because it's the ball in tee range, right? You got to know where to hit it. If the ball off a front toss or the pitcher is ahead of tee range, where I typically hit, if it's ahead of that, why am I swinging at that? Why am I swinging at that time? Right? Same thing. If the ball is back here, I'm super late. I shouldn't be swinging at that point. So you've got to understand that tee, where you're putting the ball on the tee, where that tee is located, and understanding how you load stride to approach that all matters. It all matters. So just make sure here, I think the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway is balance, understanding the stance and being in a balanced and connected position to start off with, and then being able to stay inside the feet with your load stride. And this is the weight that you're shifting. So load stride. When you get on balance, I'm not like this, and I'm not like this. So this is more of a there. This is more that. So I want to stay centered because that's where I am my strongest. From here, boom, to there. So, you got any questions? Thank you. Thank you. You have any questions? Yes.
When teaching, getting on the opposite side of the field, backspin, how would you do that to when you have beginner level students? I mean, I know I was talking about staying through the ball, but now
Right.
we're trying to progress to
Not pulling the ball all the time?
Right.
Okay, so you got to put them in situations that will force them to hit it, the oppo, right? So I would say have a net, like if you're in a cage, have a net. And this is because visual, it's so important for hitters, visual. Because for me, when I was training those 3 hours before practice, that's all I did was visualize. All I did was visualize and set things up in the cage to either, be in place of a defender, or just to see, okay, if there's a runner on first and second, I know as a slapper, I can't slap this ball to the left side of the field. I've got to be able to hit, I've got to be able to pull that, right? So I had to do specific things to understand like how to actually execute that. And I think it's as simple as that, right? Having a visual and putting the ball on the outside part of the tee, right, on that plate, and then being able to hit that in the oppo. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any other questions? I have a couple of drills that I do want to just. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this PVC pipe, understanding shoulder rotation. Okay, and typically, like, I would have a longer PVC pipe, but this is okay. Just to understand shoulder rotation. So we're getting a wide stance, which is like, I usually typically work with cones. Okay, so I have 2 of the same color cones and then 1 different color cone. Okay, so I'll have like 2 blues and then a red. Okay, so I'm at a blue and a red. Okay, and I always use a number system, so a number count. I always say like 1, 2 to understand the swing phase. Okay, so here, just specifically working on shoulder rotation, I would say 1, and I go like this. That's all I would do. Okay, and then we would transition to 1, 2. So you see how I'm focusing on body awareness, spatial awareness as well. But once I pick up the bat, then it's the same thing. We'll do wide stance and we'll go 1, 2. Or we'll go 1, 2, 3. So breaking the swing up helps them to understand what the body needs to do in each phase of the swing. And then another drill is to work on balance, and I don't have a med ball, but this will work. So right here, med ball drills that I do, and I do a lot of med ball drills in the beginning part of practice or lessons, even a 30-minute lesson. I'll do med ball slams. I'll do throws off the wall, okay? But this specific one here helps you to understand balance, okay, and your rotation throughout the swing. So I would go one, I hold the ball like this, chest on the med ball, not med ball on the chest, because if med ball's on the chest, I'm standing up. Chest on the med ball like this, okay, bend the knees. Then we'll be in wide stance like this. I'll say one, boom. So you see the same rotation as the PVC pipe. One here, and then two. Just like that. My hands need to be like this, because when I got the bat, it's going to be like that. Okay? So I want to hold the bat like this, or the ball like that, and then we'll do, and I'm going to just throw this really quick, but not super far. So it'll be one, and then two. So you see how I went straight, and my hands are here? If I'm doing this, if I release the ball like this, where's the ball going? Over there. So we got to make sure that we stay through the ball. And I do that same drill with the Frisbee. So those are the three drills that I would say really help to understand balance, mobility, hand-eye coordination, and alignment and direction. So, hot up in here in this jacket. All right, if y'all don't have any questions, I'm good. Yeah, I'm coming. I'm getting this ball.
So, have the girls that
Right.
So, like, when you're trying to break them, like, I guess the best way of, because I don't, like, I think somebody said, like, I don't really want to change, I want to tweak it, especially if they're, like, already a good, get better.
Right.
But I know it can be better, I know I can get more, drive if I tweak something.
Right, so that specific tweak, and you say, okay, think about it like this, or feel it like this, and you help them be like, okay, so if it's like a stride, and they're like stand back, because I have issues with a lot of my athletes that do stay back like this, right? And so I say, okay, come up here really quick, because it always comes down to balance, okay? So, now, I want you to get into your position, stand right here on the same one, yay. Okay, so I want you to just be back like this. So on this side. Okay. Put your leg. Okay. Right. Okay, so stand back like that. Now, I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna hit you, but stay there. Okay. Okay, so I do this to understand balance and to understand, maybe I do need to make a change. Okay, so all right. Okay, yeah, didn't it feel like you were about to fall over? Okay, now get balance. Good. Stay there. I'm going to do the same exact thing. Okay, what felt better? This one. That one. Why?
Can I actually push them though?
Yeah, you can. Push them over. Right, but that's just something, because anytime you move, it's energy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you want to be able to utilize the energy, especially from the ground, because that's where you're planted. Right? You want to be able to utilize the energy effectively. And being back like this is not effective.
Right.
Because you feeling that, the energy that I was sending to you, right? You felt like you were going to fall over. But if you're here, knees bent, chest connected, you feel like you're able to brace yourself. Now it's a different story. So I would say do something like that to help them understand, oh, okay. Yeah, push them over. I support that. I'm sorry.
Can everybody do me a favor? Take out your phone. Write down this piece of paper. My name is Tiffany Johnson. I gotta be short and sweet. My number is 678 702 2158. All right, so I was a former Georgia Tech softball player. Ended up coaching for a couple of years. Like I said, I'm Little Miss Found My Purpose. I end up getting knocked unconscious, boom, got into student athlete development. That is what I do. I specialize in academics, career readiness, health and wellness, and mental health. That's something that I enjoy doing and I love. Being that I have to be quick, one thing that I want to tell you, and when I'm working with, a lot of y'all are grade school girls, right? Biggest thing is, as coaches, knowing the core course requirements for students going into college. There's 16 courses that students have to take. 4 English, 3 maths, 2 sciences, 2 social sciences, right? As far as ACT, SAT, you need a 21 in ACT, 21 ACT, 1070 SAT. Those are things you should know as a coach for your kids. Academics goes a long way. You'll get looked at a lot more, especially if you have a good kid. When it comes to understanding transcripts and stuff, that is what I work with kids prior to going to college. Able to identify what credit hours are. What does that look like? How do I evaluate my own transcript? What degree am I looking for when I decide to what I want to do in the career field, the schools that you're looking at being realistic, making sure your kids are understanding the programs that they have at these schools, these majors, and breaking down those classes to make sure that, hey, if I'm taking AP, IB courses, or I'm just a regular student, how this stuff adds up. A lot of students go into college blindsided. I get it. We all have advisors. We have people, that high school counselors that work with us that, you would assume, and nothing to take away from counselors, but they have 400 students on their caseload. So I tell students to take control of your own academic progress. Do not put it in the hands of anybody else. You should know how many credit hours or core courses you've taken. You should know when you go to college. If you decide to, because the transfer portal is big, right? Because that's one thing I was going to hit on. Kids don't even know they're transferring and losing credit hours. All right. So what I do specialize in is when I'm talking to kids in high school, and I can come and speak at your high schools or your organization, and actually they can plan out, like I can help them with what they want to do compared to versus the different schools that they want to go to and the majors that they have. If it's realistic or not, that type of thing. I don't want to rush, but I have to be quick. So if you need any help with that, especially when it comes to academic planning for college, let me know. I will help. I will assist, because I feel like it's important for our students to know where they're going and what does that look like. And if I do decide to transfer, how many credits do I have? Do I lose anything? Because one thing that I always stress to my kids is that the only thing that you get out of being a student athlete, if you take it serious, is that degree. That's it. Because guess what? You can get hurt tomorrow. Guess what you got if you do what you're supposed to do? You can still finish school. You take it serious because you'll have that degree. Rosters change. Coaches change. You might change teams, but one thing that will be forever if you do what you need to do, or I would say one thing that's definite is that degree. So I can't be before you long, unfortunately, but if you need help, especially with those things, and I can come help anytime, just let me know. I'm sorry. Captive Athletic, and I do have a consulting business. Captive Athletics, CAPTIF Athletics. That's my IG handler for my business. So, but if you want me to come and talk and stuff and kind of break it down what your team needs academically, please let me know. I will help. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Captive, CAP.